As we get older, we start paying attention to what we put in our bodies. I personally have been listening to my body since I was 18 when I went vegan. I've always been focused on my health. It's super important, mental and physical health. But it's really important for people who are just starting to get more healthy and trying to step up their life. Doing your homework, reading the labels, researching and verifying everything that's quality. It's part of the game these days. That's why I started drinking AG1s. I'm so proud to have them sponsor my podcast. AG1 is a foundational nutrition supplement that delivers daily nutrients and gut support and is backed by multiple research studies so you can trust what you're putting into your body. We're all so busy these days, so just throw a pack of AG1 in the morning into a cup of water and shake it up and drink it. I love the way it tastes. I do it every single morning. It's part of my routine. I bring the packets on tour. It's an incredible life changer for me. Many supplements only reference research from ingredients in their product, but I trust AG1 in my daily routine because it's constantly putting the formula to the test. It's backed by multiple research studies, and one of those research studies, AG1 was shown to have double the amount of healthy bacteria in the gut, which is super important because these help digestion in the immune system and the immune health. And these bacteria are known to help with digestion as well, gas and bloating, which I freaking need. And it also promotes regular bowel movements, what I can attest to. In another research study, 97% participants felt more energy after 30 days, and 91% of the participants noticed that they needed less coffee after 60 days. I quit coffee like 5 months ago. I know I'm good on that. But AG1 is packed with a variety of nutrient-dense ingredients and is the perfect complement to my healthy diet. I drink it because I know it's going to work, and it gives me a peace of mind covering all my nutrition bases for the day. In fact, I trust it so much, that's why I'm spreading the word about it. That's why it sponsors my podcast. Thanks to Angie Huberman for turning me on to AG1s, connecting me with them, and now they're part of my podcast. It's so easy and satisfying to start your day with AG1s. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of the vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your purchase at drinkag1.com/OLLC. That's drinkag1.com/OLLC. It's never been a better time to focus on your health and wellness and get back on track, man. Take control of your daily health. Health is wealth. Gotta give a big shout out to Liquid Death. I've been in a band called H2O for 30 years, and my first real job with a company is a water brand. Go figure. Love you, Liquid Death. Love the people. Love the brand, love the concept, love what they give back, love the community, love what they do for the environment. You can go liquiddeath.com/OLLC and get free shipping on any of their merchandise that they make. They have such incredible collabs. Also, if you want to hear the story of the CEO, my good friend Mike Cesario, on the podcast, you can go to episode 115, part 1. And then 2 years later, we dropped a part 2, which is episode 275 with the CEO, Mike Cesario. Just a man from Delaware with a dream, worked at a marketing company and made this become a reality. Liquid Death is an incredible company, incredible water, incredible people. And I'm super, super honored to be part of them. They sponsor my life. They sponsor everything, my family. So go liquiddeath.com/OLLC and get free shipping on anything you want to buy on that site. If you want to get water, it's exclusively on Amazon.com. Murder your thirst, y'all. Welcome to the One Life One Chance podcast. I'm your host, Toby Morse. Today I have a very special guest in my house from Chicago, Mr. Tim McIlrath.
Thank you for having me. Excellent job on the pronunciation of my last name that nobody ever really gets right, but it's totally okay.
I watched videos of it today. I studied it. It's just an interesting spelling, that's all.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a Scots-Irish name, and it's like one of those like MC capital I kind of names, you know. And
you were saying when you type it out, it looks like Ilrath to some people.
Yeah, like I feel like when we grew up, it wasn't like a really much of a typing culture. We weren't texting, we weren't emailing, and we were writing things out. And then when that became a part of the world, like a capital I and a lowercase L are pretty much identical.
Yes.
On most of your phone, your iPhone, like your emails that you write. And so my name looks like MC Roman numeral 2 or something like that.
It's kind of sick though. Yeah. I like MC Orath.
Yeah. You're not the first person that suggested that be the name of my hip hop persona.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So growing up, was that hard for kids and stuff, and you, like just your last name?
So here's the other thing too, is I feel like when you're a kid, you hear kids' names more than you see kids' names written out.
That's true.
And if you heard my last name before you saw it written, I don't think you'd have a problem with it.
That's true.
You might not know how to spell it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, no, people like that I see from my grade school or whatever, like high school, they all know my last name really well.
Yeah.
I think because they heard a coach yell it, or they heard a teacher like yell it. You know what I mean, or whatever.
Yeah.
And they didn't really see it written out. Or everyone's got their own. Like I got a good friend who has just turned my name into like 2 syllables and it ends with like an F. So he's like McIlrath.
Or they call you Mac, or they say Mac too.
Yeah, Mac. My dad was Mac, still Mac to a bunch of my his buddies, and then I got friends who just call me Mac. Or in Chicago, I had a band called Baxter, and so I feel like people just call me Tim Baxter because you just end up. You end up with the last name of your band.
Of course,
you know what I mean.
Tim Against.
Yeah, so I think right. So people kind of thought that was my last name.
Yeah,
and then I think when I go back and I think of like sometimes people take like pseudonyms.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I was like, oh, that should have just been my pseudonym this whole time too. You know?
Yeah, but kind of cool.
Yeah.
Every time I have someone on the podcast who's been in a band, probably as long as H2O, maybe less, and they have more albums put out than me, I feel like I'm a total loser. I've done nothing with my career, and you're out here working on your 10th album. It's crazy. 10 albums. That's no joke.
I mean, some might say it's too many albums. So, I mean, sometimes you see these bands that are like, had much longer careers that have like half the amount of records. I think we were just. It depends on what world you come from. Yeah, but I think we came from a punk and hardcore scene where like you make records. That's what you do. Like when you make a record, you go on tour, and when you get back from tour, you make another record.
It's cycle, man.
And you don't stop. None of us took 2 years off to go live in Antigua for a while. And like find ourselves in India. We just made records.
Yeah, I stayed busy, man.
Yeah.
So 2000 was the first record.
2000 was the first record. That was when Fat Wreck signed us.
Yeah,
Fat Wreck signed us before we even played a show. They heard a demo and they were like, "Yeah, we're on board."
That's amazing.
Which was amazing and cool. And for me, it was like next level.
Probably listen to all those bands and all that stuff back then.
Yeah. Like at that point, I think I grew up listening to a lot of like Fat Wreck stuff, but I morphed into the hardcore world very quickly after that.
Yeah.
And so I was still kind of just in the hardcore world when Rise started. And so to go back to like the roots of like Fat Wreck and have Fat Mike acknowledge who we were as a band, especially just off of like a demo. And Mike had a relationship with our bass player Joe, because Joe's previous band 88 Fingers Louie was like one of the bigger punk bands in Chicago, like one of the more international acts that we had,
Yeah.
And so Joe had like the connections and we were talking to Hopeless, we were talking to Fat, we were talking to Victory.
Oh wow.
Victory said no to us.
What?
That they didn't want to. I mean, this was
in Chicago too.
Yeah. I mean, listen to our demo before you say what.
Okay. and it was a good thing too. That's a good thing. Yeah.
And it was in the end. It was a good thing. But I remember we were, because I remember thinking like we were coming out of the ashes of '88, and we were trying to think, or at least I was trying to think of like, how do we separate ourselves from this legacy of this pop punk band and be our own thing and not just be considered like an ex-members band of this other band.
Yeah.
Which happens to a lot of bands.
Totally.
And so Victory was something that I thought, could have been cool because it may have given us a little more credibility in like a hardcore scene kind of thing.
Yeah.
But this was a little before we were finding out that Victory may not have had the best relationship with their bands,
Yes.
And we didn't quite know that yet. We would find that out later.
Yeah.
And so I think we dodged a bullet.
100%, dude.
There probably. And Fat was absolutely an amazing place to start a career because you don't just have a record out with the Fat logo on it. You become part of a family.
100%. It's like Epitaph for us.
Yeah. So like those bands were taking us out. You know what I mean? Like Sick of It All, who just signed to Fat, took us on our first European tour. The Mad Caddies took us out. Strung Out took us out.
So cool.
These bands really took us under their wing. They already had followings. We did not. They did us a solid. And then they kind of like by them taking us out, it shows their fans like, yo, we're down with these guys.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And so check them out and give them a chance,
It was something special back then with the Fat and Epitaph and all those places, those labels with like those compilations, the Warped Tour comp, the Fat Records comp, the Epitaph one, Punkorama, like all those ones that just people getting handed out to on the Warped Tour. All that stuff really helped, man.
Dude, I don't know if anybody realized how much, like today, what a big deal that was.
Yeah.
Because like we didn't have streaming, so you couldn't just listen to music on demand. You had to shell out $15-$20 for a record. Nobody had endless resources to shell out all that money. So compilations and that kind of thing was your way of hearing a band that you weren't quite prepared to like invest $15 in,
yeah,
which is probably like $30 nowadays, or whatever,
100%.
whatever it is. So it was like a pretty good chunk of change. So comps were huge. I discovered so many bands through like comp tracks.
Yeah, it was such a good way to promote, and the Warped Tour was massive help to so many bands.
Yeah,
it was such a massive impact, man.
Warped was huge for us. Like opening for No Effects a lot was huge for us. The fat compilations, like you said. I mean, I remember those. I remember getting fat music for fat people.
Yes.
Like, me and my friends driving around listening to that all the fucking time.
And then they had short music for short. Everything, man.
Dude, those were just, I mean, such a part of like my adolescence. And so to have my band on it, which was the first thing Rise Against ever released, was a song on
oh wow,
I think it was the Live Fat Die Young comp. And so to see my name there with like,
that's so cool.
We got a lot of help like from a lot of really cool people by being part of that fat family. Out, which was cool. Yeah.
And so you grew up in a lot of that's some of the punk rock you into was a lot of that stuff growing up.
Yeah.
And you were a skater too, right? You skated?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It all goes hand in hand.
Yeah, totally. That was all part of growing up.
The soundtrack.
Yeah, totally.
Did you start skating and listen to punk rock at a young age?
Yeah, probably, I guess like 8th grade, going into high school, like around like 15, 16, that kind of thing. I went to a Catholic school with like the same 50 kids for like, 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, so we were like in a small Catholic school in my town. But then when I went to high school, I went to the public high school. I didn't continue on into Catholic or private high school. I went to the public high school. And that was when my world got kind of blown open. Like I was now like meeting other people and seeing, like I wore a uniform to school every single day.
Wow, man.
You know what I mean? So it wasn't like you were expressing your personality.
No.
In a lot of different ways. But I had a couple great friends growing up that we got into like metal together. We got into like Metallica and Slayer and like Iron Maiden. And then, we were buying records just because they had parental advisory stickers on it. You know what I mean? Like we were, but then we
trying to rebel and stuff. Yeah.
Totally. And that would have been like very early 90s. And so we're hearing about Black Flag and Minor Threat and like Fugazi and all that stuff. But it's like, we only had the three of us, we didn't have like, that was it, And so when we all went to high school, we found other kids who had like kind of discovered more stuff. Yeah.
Were your parents strict about going to that school? Religious family and stuff?
We were like, I would call it like culturally Irish Catholic.
Okay.
You know what I mean? We weren't like a really religious churchy family. We were just part of like a Catholic like parish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I never had a conversation about God with my parents.
Okay.
or the Bible or anything. It was just sort of like, this is what we did growing up.
Mm-hmm.
This is what, my parents went to like an all boys and all girls school. And this is what you're going to do growing up.
Went to church and stuff?
Yeah. It was like church every Sunday. And we were at church in like during school. We had like religion classes. There was at least one nun in the school. There wasn't a lot of nuns.
Did you like it?
I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
I didn't find it like, it was all I knew.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And what's crazy is that when you spend that much time with the same like 50 kids for like 10 years, if I see any of them like to this day, like we have this sort of like we were in war. We were in war together. You know what I mean? It's like, it's kind of crazy. And I just had dinner with one of them on Friday night.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, one of my best friends to this day. So we were definitely bonded by all of that. And it was I didn't have any issues with that school really.
Yeah. You have siblings too?
Yeah, I got 3 siblings. I'm one of 4.
Wow.
Yeah. So I got a little brother and 2 older sisters.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Are they into the same stuff you were into growing up?
Not my sisters. My sisters were like far more square. I'm sure they'll take offense to that adjective, but they were just, they were like, they weren't into whatever's popular, music wise, but they weren't like music heads. They were. The music of the day would have been like Michael Jackson and Janet Jackson, and then hair metal like stuff. It was like Poison and that kind of thing was big. But they would, when I heard Guns N' Roses come out of their room, I was like, well, what's that? That's kind of cool, Or if I heard Motley Crue come out of the room, I was like, well, that's kind of cool. And then they did get into like stuff like Depeche Mode and things like that, where I was like, all right, cool, like Tears for Fears.
Yeah.
But they weren't. My family wasn't musical, I guess.
Okay.
They weren't like my parents didn't really listen to music. We went on road trips in our station wagon, all 6 of us, around like the Midwest. And my dad had 3 cassettes. He had Don McLean,
okay,
like American Pie.
Yeah.
Kenny Rogers' best of, like greatest hits. Classic. And then Bill Cosby himself.
Wow.
And that's what we listened to like on rotation in like a big brown station wagon, like in like the rear seat facing backwards, like me and my brother.
Oh man, just like a movie, man.
Dude, I know the words to every single one of those songs if they come on. Like, I can sing the whole damn thing. But it wasn't like it wasn't an anti-music family, you know what I mean? But it wasn't like a particular musical, like there wasn't like music on in the house kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
And we weren't really playing instruments or anything like that. And my sisters weren't that instrumental in it, so it was sort of like other people's older siblings, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
that would kind of like feed us like some of like the Columbia House cassettes that people were getting, and you know,
for
like
1 cent.
Yeah, it's like punk was kind of bubbling into it, and then grunge started to happen to it at the same time. And I feel like grunge, as it was happening, it was opening the door for a lot of like the punk stuff that the grunge guys were into. You know what I mean? So you like if Kurt Cobain's talking about Fugazi, you're just like, well, who the hell is Fugazi? You know?
Yeah.
So
I heard it like somebody told me recently he had like a journal, a list of like all of his favorite records and stuff or something.
Yeah, there's somebody printed all of his journals, like a coffee table book. It's on one hand, it's like this crazy like invasion of privacy. I feel like if people saw my notebooks from when I was a kid, I'd be so embarrassed.
Oh, totally.
Because it's very diary sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I don't find any of it that embarrassing. It's actually really insightful, and you get like a little window to Kurt Cobain's brain. It's fascinating.
Wow, I need to see that.
It's pretty fascinating, and you realize like for a guy who presented as kind of like this like part of like the slacker generation, it was like, I don't care about any of this. You find out that he cared very deeply about all of it. Like he had like a plan.
Yeah.
And he had a plan. He knew what the album was going to look like. He knew if he ever made a video what it was going to look like. He knew like what it should feel like, who should be in the band. Like you could tell this guy thought about this thing 24/7. And then you could tell he was like, in terms of like music literacy, he was like Ivy League. You know what I mean? Like he knew all the right bands and who came and who was doing what, and he kind of worshipped the altar of those bands. And it's a pretty cool book.
Yeah, I need to check it out.
Yeah.
Were you journaling and writing and stuff when you were young too?
Mm-hmm. Probably that was big, you know, for me, because I was always doing bands. Before Rise Against. Yeah. And I wasn't even much of like a lyric writer as much as I was like journaling became like my sort of meditative thing to kind of get my thoughts like
kind of therapeutic stuff.
Yeah, kind of organized.
Yeah.
And I used to just do that shit a lot, and I found it really very helpful.
Like
you know what I mean?
When you were young, you did it?
Probably like as a teenager. You know what I mean? Like not really young, but like as a teenager when I just needed to like really kind of organize my thoughts, you know, and that was kind of helpful. And it was helpful too because I never thought about, like I wanted to be in a band, but I never really thought about the lyric writing side of a band.
Yeah.
I really thought about it in terms of like, I didn't even imagine myself a singer, to be honest. So I just like figured I'd be a guitar player. And so the writing came in handy later.
Oh yeah.
When all of a sudden what I do relies on my ability to like craft a sentence and craft like a stanza and like a verse and like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I didn't realize I was kind of training for that before I knew I was training for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, you write lyrics, you know how it goes.
Totally, man. And just journaling stuff and writing down your feelings and just all that stuff is very, very therapeutic and helpful, man.
Yeah.
Your thoughts.
I know. I wish I did it more nowadays. And like back then, there was no, there's no laptop, there's no iPhone.
I know.
It really was like pen to paper.
I know. It's kind of cool though.
Yeah, it was cool.
So you have those somewhere, you think?
I do have those somewhere. Yeah.
Wow.
Like, so I've like.
It'd be crazy to go back and read them.
Yeah,
Might be kind of wild to read like we were saying back then.
It's like, because a lot of it's just trivial. Like this guy bummed me out, and I'm just like I'm mad at the world, or my girlfriend broke up with me, or whatever, and then just random kind of musings on just stuff, you know. But I think
it's feelings.
Yeah, but I still have some of those old journals. Some of the
that's cool.
Early, and I used, even the early Rise days. That's kind of what I did in the van. I was kind of like, I wish I would have kept it up. If anybody in a young band is listening, like journal, man, like take stock of like your first show, your first tour.
Oh yeah.
Write the stupid shit that you stopped at 7-Eleven today and you bought a Slurpee. Like write all, like every little detail. 'Cause like it'll bring back other things, other memories of like what that time was like, because I didn't keep up with it really well. But when I pull those journals out, our first European tour, Sick of It All, took us to Europe.
Yeah.
I was telling you, which was...
What year was that?
I think it was 2001.
Okay.
Maybe it was the summer of 2001.
You definitely fans of Sick of It All before all that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And so that was huge. Maybe summer of 2001, might have been summer of 2002, but either way, It was our first time in Europe. It was like a 5 or 6 weeker. We're sharing a bus with these guys.
That was nothing back then. 5 or 6 weeks.
I know, dude. We're just like, yeah, let's go.
I can't imagine that now, but yeah.
No, I don't even think I'd do it.
Even 6 to 8 weeks was a thing back then.
Oh my God. I think about it like, I always tell my guys, when I was a kid, my mom, she had a curfew for me. And her saying was always like, nothing good happens after midnight. You know, and like,
yeah.
And I think about that on tour. I'm always like, nothing good happens after 3 weeks.
And that's still a lot too. Dang.
Yeah. It's like after 3 weeks, like people don't want to be there.
No,
you know what I mean? They want to go home. Like also, I think like
your families and stuff. It's different.
Yeah. And if your shows start to suffer, and I feel like at some point you're doing a disservice to people that are paying to see your show.
I agree.
If you're a super bummed out, burned out dude on stage and they came to see you, for the first time, like they're not getting you at your best. They're
not.
And sometimes, and whatever. I mean, go for more than 3 weeks if that's your calling to do that, and you can do that.
Yeah.
So go for it. And we did it for years before we stopped doing it.
Of course.
Yeah.
Did you met Sick of It All before you did that tour?
We did one CBGB show.
Oh wow.
On a tour, and they had already agreed to take us out. I don't know if like they liked us or if like Fat Mike twisted their arm or something like that. You know what I mean? One day maybe they'll tell me. But like they came to CB's to kind of like see what they were getting themselves into.
Yeah.
And so it was us and like E-Town Concrete.
Wait a second. Wow.
It was like kind of the wrong show.
Dude, that's a crazy show for you guys.
It was crazy. And like I was when I joined Rise 2, I was like definitely a hardcore kid. That was like my world. And I knew that Rise was a band that was kind of living in a parallel world to the hardcore world.
Yeah.
We weren't going to be opening for Earth Crisis and Strife and all these bands, probably, even though we would tour with Strife eventually. So getting on the CB's show, I think if you could Google this, I'm sure. I'm pretty sure it was E-Town and God Forbid.
Wow.
And it was, and other bands too.
That must have been a crazy show.
It was a crazy show. We were the very first opener of the night, so it's like we're breaking the ice.
You guys nervous playing there?
Oh yeah, I mean nervous to play there, but like now we were in like this like hardcore scene of like CBs, so it was like a whole different like element. So I knew like what we were. It was a lot to go on that stage and play in front of like all these hardcore heads that were out there just kind of watching us, And I remember it now.
All dudes there, no girls there.
Yeah, right. It was. CBs too. It was just,
I know, man.
There's no dressing room really. There's like you're just kind of trapped in there. Your
bathroom, everything's rough.
It's
dude.
just everyone looks like they would just want to murder you. I had hair down to my shoulders. I was like 22. I was like 120 pounds soaking wet. Like it was. It definitely. It put hair on my chest a little bit.
Yeah.
And so did eventually touring with Sick of It All, because Sick of It All fans across Europe in like 2001 too, they are hardcore fans and they want to see Sick of It All, and they don't know who you are, and they would prefer that you get out of their way so they can see their favorite band. And so we would get heckled, you know what I mean? Like fans were rough on us.
Wow.
I remember doing a show somewhere in Germany, and like it was a lower stage, maybe like the size of this like of a chair, like whatever, and so people were pretty close. And the guy was sitting there holding a beer or a water or a pop or something, and he's just like watching me play, and he's unimpressed. He's clearly unimpressed. He's
staring at you.
And at some point, he decides that he's just going to dump the entire beverage like on me, just right in front of me. Just like, dude. Just like, screw you. And I was like, dude. Oh, it's going to be like that. And I remember, to his credit, do you know Daniel from Sweden?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. To his credit,
Daniel the Swede, yes.
Daniel the Swede. I met him on that tour. He was Sick of It All's roadie. I still talk to him to this day. I love.
Me too. He's doing our merch in a couple weeks. Yeah,
is he?
Yeah.
He's the best. I love Daniel. I still cross paths with him.
That's so cool.
And this was one of the nights I found out he was the best, because I was like, I didn't feel like I could physically get into it with this guy twice my size in the front. I thought it'd be a bad look, the singer of the opening band trying to get into it with this guy.
Yeah. I
felt like I needed to like make a joke and then like be like, oh, so it's gonna be like that, But I also felt like, this sucks, man. Like I'm covered in this beverage,
It's the worst.
And
it feels so violent. It's just a weird thing. You get spit out or beer thrown on.
I know. I'm just like, all right, man. Like here we go. And then I remember, but like about like 90 seconds later, I look, and Daniel, who, like, for people who don't know Daniel, he's kind of like, he's a big, tall, muscly Swede type guy. And
sweetheart.
It's a total sweetheart too.
Also badass though.
Yeah. Also a badass. Visually a badass.
Yeah.
Covered in tattoos. And he's standing behind that guy, just right behind him, just looking at him, just like,
wow,
do it again. Just try and do that again. Just do anything.
Amazing.
And he stood there the whole show and made sure that guy didn't like act.
That's awesome, dude.
But that was that tour. It was like Sick of It All kind of protecting us, showing us, the ropes.
The ropes, no pun intended. Yeah.
Right. Totally. Yeah. It was like, we were talking about this earlier, but like that tour informed so much of the next 20 years of Rise Against. I feel like we had a masterclass. Yeah. And like what it was like to be sincere, honest dudes working, taking the show seriously, taking the load out seriously, taking your life,
being on time, everything.
Being on time, your life on the bus, your responsibilities as a person on a tour, like sharing a dressing room, sharing in like a bathroom, like all the things, being respectful of each other's space, respectful of the countries that you're going into, respectful of the shows and the loaders and the crew you're working with, and even just respectful of us who they didn't know us. Yeah. And when they were now inviting us to like share their tour bus, which is an intimate place.
Totally.
You know what I mean? That's like your refuge from the world.
Yes.
And now we're going to have these 4 or 5 kids from Chicago like come and just like literally sleeping next to us and waking up next to us.
Crossing each other, whatever. Yeah.
And they were down with it. And like it was, I mean, it's still...
How close was Craig to you on the bus?
Too close.
Okay. I'm sure the storytelling, all that. So were they playing Mafia back then, that game? I don't even know there was a game they were playing on. Yeah, they had so many good stories. They probably, they just...
We were rolling CeeLo that whole tour.
Yeah, and the ball breaking.
Yeah, all the ball breaking was like...
Gave me tough skin hanging out with them for sure, that ball breaking stuff.
Yeah, that gave me tough skin.
CeeLo.
And we were all the Euros and the CeeLo, just like... that gave me tough skin, hanging out with them, and then also opening for them and playing for their fans.
Yeah.
That was the moment of your life where you're like, okay, if you're going to be a new band and you're going to play with bands like Sick of It All, you can either put your tail between your legs and you can go home, you know, or you can put some hair on your chest and be like, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
You know, and so...
Makes you go harder.
It made me like a different front man.
Okay.
You know? And
good.
And watching Lou every night made me a different front man. You know what I mean? Like watching him take his shit so seriously, watch him command a crowd the way he could command a crowd. Yeah. You know, all that stuff was just really inspiring.
I never seen Lou lose his voice ever.
No, he's a maniac.
I'm sure there's warm-ups now, but back then it wasn't even a thing. You just go out on stage and just kill it. But obviously we do warm-ups now. But
and no one sounds like Lou.
I know. But never ever blew his voice. It's like so crazy, man.
Yeah, he'll come out if we play like Stone Pony or something like that. He'll come out and do like Minor Threat with us.
Sick.
Or we always talk him into it. Like
you guys stayed in touch throughout the years, obviously. Yeah.
Every time we played New York, like he's showed up. You know, and if they play Chicago, we took Sick of It All to Australia with us. Years ago.
That's cool.
I got to hang out with them then, and yeah, dude, those guys are a trip. I mean, you know those guys real well. Like,
you
roadied for them.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah. Seen it all. You did some Australia with Blink-182 too, right?
Yeah.
That was awesome.
It was so good, man. It was like...
Had you played with those guys before?
Just like some festivals here and there, but never like a proper tour. And so I knew them in passing from the fest and like whatever, we'd say hello. And I did Mark's podcast once.
Awesome.
Too. But I never spent that much time with them, so I wasn't sure what it was going to be.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful experience, dude. It was like... That band is a force of fucking nature, first of all.
It's crazy,
I got to see it like from the front row. Just their fans. They couldn't play enough shows down there. Like I don't know if like they told you.
Yeah.
But like they sold out so many shows. They did like a second lap around Australia.
Wow.
Like it was even they underestimated like the demand down there.
Yeah.
The shows were insane. Those 3 dudes were super nice. Their crew was one of the nicest crews I've ever worked with in the last like 20 years. They were
awesome, man.
Playing with a band at that level, there's a lot of unknowns about how welcome you are backstage.
How
much you're even wanted on the tour, or are you just kind of like this lamb to the slaughter to like break the ice for them?
How was their crowd? Cool.
Their crowd was cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we do pretty well in Australia, so we have our crowd, and we haven't been there since before COVID.
Yeah.
So that was our first time back in like 5 years. And so it was great to reconnect with our fans. And we weren't sure too, because being the opening band, you're like, is anybody here to see me? You know, like, are they just here to see Blink? And I felt like
you guys main support?
We were only the other band actually.
Oh, just 2 bands. Wow.
Just 2 bands in the whole. Yeah, which was like,
that's kind of crazy.
I wasn't excited about it when I heard it, because like being the first band is way different than being the second band.
100%.
The first band breaks the ice, and people aren't ready. They just parked their cars, they paid their babysitter, they're trying to get a beer, they're in line for merch. They're not ready for your first song.
Yeah.
Your first song's like, whoa, okay, we're here, we're doing this. You know? And they might warm up into the set. And by the second band, and they're a little more ready for you. It's why it's why comics have openers, it's why bands
for sure.
have opening bands, And like, so when I found out there was nobody before us, I can't remember the last time we played where we were the first thing of the night.
Yeah.
But that said, it went great. It was like we had our fans that were cool, and then their fans, who I think who were new to us, were super cool too. And then those guys were always cool too.
Yeah, their audience must be so diverse with age and everything, because they've been around for so long, and there's like so many new kids getting into them still, and this resurgence and the new album, and just It's amazing to see. They just went to South America for the first time ever, man.
I couldn't believe that.
The footage I saw, and they were posting like thousands of people outside their hotel singing all night to them and stuff. Totally. It was like, that's crazy, man.
Yeah, they've connected with they've been culturally relevant for like multiple decades in a row.
Yeah.
And they've like connected with even yet another round of like young people who are into what they do is, I think, a bit timeless, It's pretty amazing.
Did you want to play music when you were in high school? Did you start figuring that out? Like, does Baxter start when you're in school? Like, do you start going to shows? Like, what inspires you?
Go to shows first, for sure.
Yeah.
Just like going to see local bands. The Midwest had a really...
You told me that you were going to Fireside Ball all the time. Seen any kind of band.
I was like a rat at Fireside.
Metal, anything you want to see, go check it out. Yeah.
As soon as I was 18 and I was out of high school, I moved right into the city to a neighborhood near Fireside, and pretty much just so I could go to Fireside. And I was going to college too, but that was mostly so I could convince my parents to like pay my rent, as long as I was in school.
Yeah.
And so I lived in a punk house, in Chicago. I lived in a punk house that like I met two different guys in that Blink tour who slept on my floors in like 1997. Like it was that kind of house. Like you might play a show and you might end up back at our house.
Okay.
Like I think the Newfound Glory guys have stayed on our floor back
in
the day. Like I talked to Brian Fallon from Gaslight Anthem, and he said
how many people lived there?
There was 4 bedrooms. It was more roommates than rooms.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So like it was fluctuating.
Okay.
A lot. It was every bit of like a punk house that you might think was.
That's amazing.
Like a band in the basement, and then just like bodies across the floor and whatever. But I could show up at Fireside with like $5. I didn't care what was playing. It was like there could be like a late night Alternative Tentacles band playing. Yeah, sign me up. There could be like a DC band like Kerosene 454 playing, and I'm like, yeah, sign me up. There'd be like pop punk stuff. There'd be hardcore stuff. There'd be metal stuff. I just wanted to see music. I wanted to see live music. I wanted to see people playing music.
Yeah.
Like at ear splintering volumes, as a young person. And that's what I did as many nights of the week. And Fireside was good because it had so many shows happening. Even before Fireside High School, I was going around to all the like
VFW halls.
VFW halls.
Yeah.
Arlington Heights Nights of Columbus, Elmhurst VFW, the 3rd floor in Elgin, basement parties, Chicago was like, we were like Cap and Jazz was a neighborhood band. Smoking Popes were playing. The Bulls were playing. There's an unsung band from Chicago that was the most important band to me called Sidekick Kato.
Okay.
And the world has kind of forgotten about them. They were not a like well documented band.
Interesting.
But they were the most important band to me at the time.
Okay.
And so they were the band I follow around like people follow around the dead. Like if they were playing a show in a basement or a place like anywhere, that was the thing I wanted to see. And then, touring bands, going to the Metro and seeing shit was like, that's what we did. That's all. And I just kind of took it all in. And I come home from a show and I'd have a guitar in the basement and I would just kind of play guitar till I fell asleep just thinking about that show,
Wow.
Yeah.
Just self-taught on guitar?
Self-taught on guitar. And then eventually, like I guess like most bands start, you just like, get some buddies together and next thing you know,
100%.
You're trying to play music and, we loved it.
Yeah. So that starts and it's like, so Baxter's like post-hardcore or something they call it?
Yeah, I don't
know what that means, man. That's so
definitely post-hardcore wasn't definitely not even a term that was being thrown around back then. It was funny too because when Baxter was starting, I was very much in the hardcore scene. Like I was going to see every Earth Crisis show.
Yeah,
I saw like Refused open for Snapcase at the Fireside. Like I loved Guilt. I loved Bloodlet. I loved who else? Like Strife. Like all that shit. The Chicago had a band called Extinction that was like our thing, There was a band called Stifle back in the day. All that stuff. I also loved a lot of the Midwest emo stuff happening, whether it was like Rainer Maria or Cap and Jazz or Braid and Gage, and a lot of that stuff that was happening was also cool. And then when Baxter started, it didn't fit into any of those things, or it was like this own thing that we just kind of did in our basement. It was like our own little project. So like I'd play with my friends in the basement, we'd make some songs. And then we'd leave the basement and go see Earth Crisis. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
And nobody ever considered our band as a band that might go open for Earth Crisis. It was just something that was more melodic. It was like, I think we just kind of thought we were Fugazi. You know what I mean?
Awesome.
Or we were like inspired by it,
Yeah.
And, but eventually we would get out of the basement. We recorded like a demo and people got into it.
Yeah.
And it was me and my buddy Jay Wood, who lives out here in LA now. This amazing drummer named Remus, who has gone on to play in a bunch of really cool bands. And then one of my best friends, Neil Hennessy, who is the drummer of the Lawrence Arms.
Yeah, I know that name. That's right. Yeah.
Lawrence Arms from Chicago, but he's also kind of like a Swiss Army man of sorts. He plays drums in Sparta right now.
Okay.
As well, and then he actually played. Joe had to go home from our last tour because he had a family emergency, and Neil played bass for us on the entire Blink tour in Australia.
Oh wow!
And 5 years ago, I hurt my wrist in a mountain biking accident, and he came and played guitar for us at a European tour. So Neil is like, he's amazing.
That's cool.
If anybody needs a guy, Neil's your guy. He's out here in LA.
That's awesome
now as well. So Neil was part of my first band, like Baxter as well.
Yeah.
And so Baxter would have been like your local opener in Chicago. So like Baxter opened for Strife when they rolled around. We opened for Good Riddance when they rolled around. We would open for we had a band called Slapstick in Chicago back in the day. It was that was kind of like Chicago's like Op Ivy kind of thing.
Yeah.
That was a lot of guys in the Lawrence Arms, that kind of thing. And that's kind of what we did, and we had a lot of fun doing it until it kind of just ran out of gas.
Yeah. So playing mostly locally too around, right?
Locally, we started touring a little bit Midwest, like Detroit, Minneapolis, Milwaukee, whatever we could get to in a weekend. We had a lot of friends that would have gone away to school, but they end up on the entertainment board at their university, and they get a $500 budget to put on an event.
That's cool.
And they call us and they'd be like, "Hey, we got $500. Can you guys drive to Valparaiso University, Indiana, and play the cafeteria on a Friday night?"
Wow.
And we'd be like, "Hell yeah, we would do it for $5."
That's incredible.
And next thing you know, we were playing your college campus at some party somewhere, and then talking to college radio, whatever. And so that's cool. We definitely hustled. You know what I mean?
Were you in school too at the same time?
I was in school at the same time. I was a DJ on the radio station WZRD at Northeastern Illinois University.
Yeah.
So I was juggling all that, and I was working a job too.
What were you working at? You remember?
At that point, I was either a lifeguard at the school pool, because that's what I did all through high school. Every summer I was a lifeguard.
Okay, nice. There you go. Okay.
And so as a lifeguard, you have to recertify all your first aid stuff. So my stuff was always up to date, and so it was one of those jobs. People are always looking for someone who can do CPR and whatever.
That's cool, man.
And so I was a lifeguard, and then the last real job I had was working at a ticket broker in Chicago.
Nice.
So just what you think of as kind of like a sketchy little office somewhere selling inflated Cubs tickets to tourist kind of thing, and concert tickets, that kind of thing. Oh, you want to go see Elton John front row for back then it'd be $500.
So before StubHub.
When you actually had to make a phone call.
Yeah. That's crazy.
To an office. Yeah, it was. I kind of loved it because, as you can imagine, the ticket broker world, especially in the 90s, was it just felt like a criminal enterprise.
Yeah, it sounds like we describe it.
And it attracted people who were into the criminal enterprise aspect of it. So everybody in it had an angle. They were all a hustler. But I kind of loved that whole vibe. You know, my boss was kind of a sketchy dude. There's always stacks of cash floating around. There was rumors of which place had a Ticketmaster machine in their building, and they could just print out.
Bro,
the U2 tickets when they went on sale, and there was sketchy stuff. I mean, I drove around Chicago and I handed envelopes full of cash to random people at established venues that my band would go on to play.
No way, dude.
And then they would hand me tickets, and so they were getting a payoff, and then we were getting tickets, and then we were selling them for even higher prices to the next person.
I wonder who your boss's boss was. It's crazy. You never know, man.
Right. It was.
I don't want to know,
dude. I mean, it was how people got a hold of the tickets was a whole bunch of different ways, or you'd a hotel from downtown would call and be like, oh, it'd be like, hey Tim, this is Theo from the Ritz-Carlton. I've got a family here, the Johnsons from Iowa. They'd like to go to the Cubs game today. What can you do for them? And I'd be like, oh, what's up, Theo? I got 4 Cubs tickets. They're field boxes. They're this section. There's 10 rows from third base, and we can do them at $65 a ticket, whatever it is. You know what I mean? And I'd hear him on the phone. He'd go, okay, 1 second, Tim. Okay, Tim's got some tickets for you. They're $100 a pop. And would you like those? Yeah. Okay, 4 of them. Okay, Tim, we'll do 4.
Wow.
And I'm listening to him on the phone, just upsell him. And then so he would relay to me. He's like, okay, Tim, we're going to do those tickets at $100. And then I would put, all the cash that he upsold it as, you know what I mean? In a separate envelope with his name on it. That was his take.
Wow.
Yeah. So you're watching this whole process.
That sounds so shady.
I mean, it's business and it happens everywhere, but it was on the very primal level there. Everyone was just hustling. And I started there as a bike messenger.
Okay.
Just shuttling the tickets back and forth, but At one point, they needed somebody in the office, and next thing you know, I was doing sales. But
wow, man,
it was a fun gig because it allowed me to tour, play shows. My boss was like okay with me leaving. It was a commission-based thing, so if you really needed money, you could hustle and try to make some money. And then two of the guys in it are out here in LA. I still talk to. One of them runs like a huge real estate realtor out here.
Oh wow, okay.
So
still doing stuff.
Yeah, one of them's a writer. Like everyone in there I was trying to start a band. This guy was trying to like get out to Hollywood. This guy was trying to be a writer. Like, and we all just were like selling tickets in the meantime.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
So you did that for a couple of years?
Did that for as many years as I needed to, and then until I finally could quit. But I would go back there in between tours all the time to make money until the tour started. Stacking up, and then it was like I can't get back here anyway. So
that's great. I think that would have been your last real job.
Real job for sure.
Wow.
Last real job
with a boss and whatever. Yeah.
With a boss and all that stuff. Yeah, it was a trip, man. It was like it's another one of those things where if I see people who worked there, like we were in the trenches together, we got great stories and sketchy stories. And
would that be 1999 then? Probably.
Yeah. It totally would. But 99, 2000, maybe up until 2001. I was still working there on 9/11. I remember. So that was,
oh wow.
Yeah. So I've been right around there is when I started to kind of walk away from it.
Yeah. When did you graduate? Because you graduated with you majored in English and sociology, right?
So I graduated 2 months ago.
Oh, I know that again. You never did it back then?
Never graduated.
Okay, because I have it in my notes, but that happened recently. Mm. So you quit that for the band?
Yeah, I was.
Wow.
I was a junior in college when Joe and I hooked up to like
Northeastern
Illinois University. Not the prestigious Northeastern, but I went to Northeastern Illinois, the less prestigious for the kids who didn't get good grades in high school. But a great school.
Yeah, were your grades good in high school though?
No, they weren't.
Okay.
Yeah, I was.
And your parents weren't strict on the grades?
They were as strict as they could be. Like if they were here, they would have been like, we tried everything and he just wasn't listening to us.
Were you that kind of a wild kid?
Yeah, I was straight edge the whole time.
But maybe like spazzy, like couldn't focus or hyper? Or?
I think I was just so obsessed with like music and going to shows and that kind of thing. That's
all I cared about,
And that's all I cared about. I didn't see college in my life. I didn't see a job that like, I didn't have a plan and all I cared about was music.
Yeah.
And like, there wasn't like an outcome that I could see myself in where good grades were going to help me get there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so I'm going to get good grades, so I go to this school I don't want to go to hang out with these people I don't want to hang out with, and then to get this job that I don't want to do. You know what I mean? Like,
true.
And I look back and I realize like, you don't have to work a not cool job. There's cool jobs out there too.
For sure, especially now.
But as a kid in the Midwest, I didn't see that. I just saw, I was like, oh, I'm going to be a salesman at this corporation, or I'm going to do this. It was pretty naive because I feel like if someone would have been like, yo, dude, you can work in Hollywood, you can make movies, you can be a record producer, you can do all these things. But a lot of them are going to involve some sort of education, so maybe you should think about that. In my head, every job outcome looked terrible, and so I never put in the time to do school the way it was meant to be done. And so my options were limited when I left high school. Yeah. And but luckily I got into Northeastern Illinois. Well, you don't get into its open admission. Yeah. But it was college. I did a little better in, because I ended up taking stuff that I was interested in, like a lot of writing, English, sociology. Yeah. You know. That school kind of blew my mind in terms of like a lot of the politics and like that I learned like at that school. And what I didn't know at the time, I was almost training to be like a songwriter, but I didn't know that. You
Interesting.
Know what I mean? I was taking poetry classes. I was reading like old like English literature and that kind of thing. And I never saw myself as becoming like a writer or someone that was going to need to rely on pen and paper to like, write songs and that kind of thing. It was making me a better writer. Sure. Even though I didn't think about it. And that's kind of what I try to tell like my kids or like people who like are dismissive of school. Like, you don't know what you're going to be sometimes. Yeah. And like this work that you're doing, a byproduct of it might be something that really helps you do something you truly love to do. Yeah. And I felt like I had an edge as a songwriter having like some of this writing background behind me. Yeah.
And you ended up going back during the pandemic or something?
Yeah. So I would have been going into my senior year when
Zoom
Rise
School
started.
Or something,
yeah,
right?
I did a lot of that Zoom stuff. Yeah. Because I dropped out senior year when Fat Mike signed us. So
it's all Fat Mike's fault. And that's a great thing.
It's all Fat Mike's fault. Yeah. No, I had to go to my parents and be like,
oh yeah, how were your parents' reaction?
I think
this guy Fat Mike just signed us to his record label and I'm quitting college.
I know. That's exactly what I had to say. Yeah. And they were like, what? because
were they supportive?
It helped that I had a record contract.
Totally, dude.
So it was like a legitimate thing. You know what I mean? It was like, it's a guy. He's from California. He's got a real label.
Legit. Yeah.
And I think they even I think just from raising me and my brother, they knew what Fat Records was at least.
Yeah, for sure.
On the surface from like a mail order thing or something like that. And so, I just kind of said like, hey, there's a record contract. We're going to go into a studio. I can't do school and this at the same time, but school will still be here. Like, I want to pursue this right now. Yeah. And see what happens.
Which you actually end up doing. It's awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
And they were supportive.
20 years later.
Yeah. I think at that point they had known like that's all I was really doing was just music. And so to actually take it to another level, even they were like, oh, maybe like this could be all this time and effort that Tim has put into this. Maybe it could actually be like
pay off or do something.
Yeah. Bear some fruit. And so they were cool about it. And I always like...
Was that an easy decision to quit for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was. School was an afterthought. I wasn't trying. I wasn't like excited about finishing or anything like that. But I always told myself I'd go back,
Like really did say that.
I really did. And like even over the years I was like...
You thought about it?
Thought about it. And even I got kids now and one of them's in college right now.
Yeah.
And she would always joke with me when I'd be like busting her about like, you need to start to think about college or whatever. Like, and she'd always like rub in my face, Dad, you didn't even go to college.
You quit. Yeah.
And I'm like, all right. I hear you. And so I
love having kids that just tell it to you like it is, man.
Yeah. I mean, I'd remind her like, when you get a record contract, you can skip school too. Okay. But like, in the meantime, but I was like, you know what? You're right. I should go to college. I should finish it. Mm-hmm. And so when the pandemic happened, I was like, I wonder what this would take. And I started just kind of making some phone calls and just like, can I come back here? Like, will these credits transfer? Like, how does this work?
So your credits from back then?
Back then transferred, most of them, yeah.
They don't expire?
They didn't expire. I went back to the same exact school. And they were like, yeah, you can like, you can just start back up.
That's crazy, man.
Was
that surreal? Was that weird?
It was, there were times it was crazy. Times I'm on a Zoom call with a bunch of 19-year-olds.
I know, and somebody recognized you too. I saw that. Yeah. Or they had your record in the background or something.
That's exactly what happened. Yeah.
That's crazy.
That was most people didn't recognize me, but like it's
kind of cool.
I was on one Zoom call and there was a guy in the call and he was in like the little box, whatever. Uh-huh. And then I'd see him every week, but one week he had a bookshelf behind him. One week he had a Rise Against record on his bookshelf, like turned sideways so you could see the whole album artwork.
On purpose?
So that's what I was wondering.
He was baiting you, yeah.
Because I'm like, is it on purpose or I'm just like,
haven't seen that before,
Is it just a total coincidence and I'm just like, thinking that this guy knows me? And so...
How many people on the Zooms usually?
Like, there was like...
The whole class?
Yeah, there was like 16 people. It was a lot. And the teacher or whatever. And so... I go on Zoom and I'm trying to figure out how to message him individually, and I'm trying not to pull a total boomer move and message the whole class right now. You know what I mean? So I'm just like being real careful.
Yeah.
And I was like, I forgot his name. It was like I don't remember his name exactly, but I was like, hey, Jason, I like your record. And that's kind of all I said.
Yeah.
Because I was kind of feeling it out, and he was like, oh, thanks, man. He's like, it's a cool record, and it was its anniversary like this week or whatever, and I was like, oh, right. And then
you even know it was your anniversary.
I kind of didn't. And then he didn't really say anything after that, and I was like, oh, maybe that was the end of it. Like, maybe he didn't recognize me. And then all of a sudden, this typing came through. He's like, dude, I thought that was you. And I wasn't sure. Blah blah. That's awesome. And I'm like,
a bunch of classes with you before. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I talked to him and like and actually ran into him at like a meet and greet, like a record signing at Reckless Records.
Wow.
Like, other than that though, like, I was just a student in these classes.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Which was cool, and that's kind of how I preferred it, because it was like the classes were tough.
Yeah.
Hardest thing I ever did in my adult life was statistics.
Okay.
I had to do like math as like a 43-year-old.
And it's changed to the way people do math. Even our kids are doing math different, obviously. It's different.
I mean, I was like, we'd be like in Michigan, like I'd be like in a hotel room about to like leave to go play a festival, and I'm doing like an exam in my hotel room. Wow. And it's a timed exam, and if I fail it, like I start over, and I'm just like...
That's so crazy.
Like the guys are banging on my door like, yo, we got a show to play. And I'm like, dude, I got to finish this. Like if I don't finish this, I got to start this shit over. And so it was a lot of work, But,
that's so cool. You did it though.
But did it cross the finish line just last semester and graduated.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so good. It must feel so good, man.
It does. It would felt better than I thought it would feel. It's like not that you need a college degree for anything, but it was like I was that close, and I was like, I want to have a college degree. I want to say I have a college. I was the only person in my family without a college degree.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it was like, I could do this. Like, why not?
They must be so proud, man.
And my mom especially, she was like, because every semester I kind of had the choice to just like walk away from it again.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, am I done now? Kind of like, did I prove my point? You know, but like there would be like the deadline to sign up for classes again, and I would think for a second, I'd be like, I got that tour coming up, or I got this record. Maybe I need to not take a semester off. You know?
Yeah.
And right around that same time, I get a text from my mom like, "Did you sign up for classes yet?"
Wow.
I was like,
man.
"How did you know?"
Just like when you were a kid too. Like, yeah.
It's right. She knew when the deadline was or something, or she just like intuitively kind of knew. And I'm like, all right, I'm doing it. So I did a lot of it for her. I feel like just
that's so cool, man.
Yeah.
And it was way harder than you thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm. Some of it was like okay, but like some of that math stuff, you know, was tricky. You know,
I was never good at math, dude. Math is just like
it was really hard. I feel like you can not fake a lot, but like, you know, a lot of what you do for school is you're writing answers, you're writing papers or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was a good enough writer. I felt like I could impress teachers with the writing.
Yeah.
And like fake my way through the information sometimes.
Yeah.
Because you can't fake your way through math.
No, dude.
Math doesn't give a shit how good of a writer you are, how charming you are, or whatever it is. Like it's just math. You know? Like it's formulas and it was like, I immediately had a lot of sympathy for every single college student out there, you know, including my own kid.
Yeah. So that must be different now for them. Like, oh, my dad, you finally did it. That's so cool.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think they had a little graduation party for me. So yeah,
that's cool. And you met Joe when you were a junior in college.
That would be about right. Yeah. Like sophomore, junior. Right.
Yeah. Around, Sick of It All show.
Yeah, actually it was. That was like a Sick of It All show. It was like Sick of It All and like Silent Majority. And,
oh wow, from Long Island, yes.
It was like, and then AFI and Hot Water were on it too.
What?
It was like
on the same bill.
It was almost like I don't know.
That's a crazy bill, dude.
It was a crazy bill. It was like these two kind of different genres. I want to say maybe Good Riddance was on it too.
They always play with Sick of It. That makes sense.
Yeah, it was almost like it was almost like two tours that came together.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and I was visiting a friend down in Indiana, and
I
ran into Joe and Dan in the lobby. It might have been the Emerson Theater. And unbeknownst to me, they'd been trying to do like a post-88 project and unable to find like a singer. Yeah. And they knew me from Baxter. And so they're
in Troy's Bucket.
That was the album. Troy's Bucket was the album.
Yeah, the
Baxter,
album.
Yeah. But that was our Goonies reference.
Oh, wow, that's right.
So yeah, Baxter was me and Neil Hennessy from the Lawrence Arms. And then
what about Yellow Robe Priest?
Oh, those were the guys from Pelican, actually.
That was like a grindcore kind of thing you did brief lineup in too, right?
Very briefly. Like I don't remember even playing a show with those guys really, but like we were friends with those guys, and at one point I think maybe me and Neil played with them, and then I don't know if they just broke up shortly after that.
And another band too with Pete Wentz singing.
Yeah, me and Pete.
What's that called? Arma
Angelus. It was like Latin for like Weapons of the Angels or something like that.
Oh yeah, metalcore band kind of, right? Yeah.
Metalcore, because Pete. And I like kind of grew up in that Chicago hardcore scene.
That's cool.
So Pete played bass in a lot of like those hardcore bands. Like,
and the drummer from Fall Out Boy was in a hardcore band too.
Oh yeah, Andy for sure. Yeah, he was like in a lot of like those blast beat kind of like Creationist Crucifixion kind of bands. You know, that was Andy's world. So Andy and Pete we were always at like hardcore shows together. Those guys, some of the first guys I knew who were like vegan and like straight edge and like all those things.
That's awesome.
And then when they started Arma, I mean, I was like Arma's like third or fourth bass player, and so we rolled around with them. We did a record. I sang on the record a little bit too. Pete was the front man.
That's cool.
And
is there videos of that anywhere?
There might be. It was like kind of maybe before a lot of that time.
Yeah.
But while he was doing Arma, he was starting what would become Fall Out Boy.
Wow.
Around that time, and then I was starting what would become Rise Against. So we were both kind of had our like one foot out the door. Yeah. Kind of thing. And it was fun because then we played a lot of our first shows. Like Fall Out Boy was open. Rise got a bit of a head start to Fall Out Boy. And so I remember like Fall Out Boy would be like opening for Rise Against in like the basement of a church somewhere,
Bro.
But like all kind of the same crew, and like they just sort of exploded. And
it's crazy. Yeah.
Last time I saw those guys, they tried to convince me that I named their band.
Really?
Which I didn't name their band, but they were like they were trying to decide between some names, and Fall Out Boy was one of them. And, and I saw them, and I must have misheard the story. I heard that they named their band Fall Out Boy.
Yeah.
And then we played a show. They played the show nameless, so they had no name. They just showed up and played.
Wow.
And it was a hardcore show. I think we were headlining, and then I told a huge crowd. I was like, thank you to Fall Out Boy for playing tonight. That was the first band you saw tonight. They were called Fall Out Boy.
There you go.
I just I ordered their name. And so a crowd, and I say huge, it was probably 150 people, right?
Yeah.
And they were like, oh shit, that's not our name. Like, but now Tim just said it is our name. I guess it's our name. Worked, I guess it's our name now.
That's amazing.
Which is a Simpsons reference, actually.
It is?
Fall Out Boy. Yeah.
Wow. From what? Do you know?
Like Radioactive Man and Fall Out Boy, like the superheroes. Yeah. So.
And what's the other one from Goonies again?
Troy's bucket. Like that was like the bucket they sent down.
Oh yeah.
Like Troy. And
dude, that's crazy.
And was it Corey Feldman? He gives the big speech, or no?
Oh my god.
No, Mikey gives the big speech where he's like, "These are our dreams down here," and we give that up the second we ride up Troy's bucket.
That's right.
Right?
You a big Goonies fan?
Yeah, I love Goonies.
Best,
dude. Yeah. You ever meet people like our age that have never seen the Goonies? And you're just
it is kind of weird. Yeah,
dude, like you missed out.
It was such a classic.
Well, and so many references. You know what I mean?
So many.
Yeah, like Chunk and.
Chunk.
Yeah.
So Transistor Revolt was the original name of Rise Against, no?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Nothing. It was like I remember I was watching that movie Network.
Oh yeah.
You know, like Howard Beale.
You got a lot of movie references in your life.
And his voice was always coming through like a speaker, just yelling about like revolution, and I was like, oh, like Transistor Revolt. That kind of came to me.
I like that. Makes sense.
And I don't.
Where you put it?
Yeah, we were talking about band. We just had no idea for a band name, and I feel like I have such a fuzzy memory, so I don't want to speak on it. If we were Rise Against first, if we were Transistor Revolt first, I think I remember Fat Mike not liking Transistor Revolt or not liking Rise Against, and being like, you should change your name to something else. And then he actually recommended some names.
Wow.
The best one was Jimmy Crack Corn and the I Don't Cares.
It's pretty. It's like Me First and the Gimme Gimmes.
It was like Me First and the Gimme Gimmes.
That's pretty cool. I could see him doing that.
Right, totally. So luckily you're not sitting here talking to the guy from Jimmy Crack Corn and the I Don't Cares. I was kind of like, wait, that makes me Jimmy Crack Corn, you realize.
It does.
That's who I am.
Well, why has it never been used?
Right?
That's really, now somebody's going to use it on this podcast.
Hopefully I think someone should use that. That was 20 years ago.
That's totally Me First and the Gimme Gimmes. That's totally that mindset. Wow.
Mike's brilliant. Mike's brilliant. He's like witty and he's got all kinds of great ideas.
He's genius.
He is, absolutely.
He's a wild man. I love him.
We owe so much to him too, just for taking us under his wing. But eventually we got into, I think we released a demo called Transistor Revolt, which was like maybe 4 or 5 songs that would eventually end up on the Unraveling.
Yeah, I think that was in 2000 maybe.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then we only made like 50 or 100 of them because very shortly after Fat signed us, we didn't want to just hand these songs out that we were going to re-record. And I think that thing said Transistor Revolt on it.
Yeah.
And so, but we changed our name shortly after it, but never sold another demo that said Transistor Revolt. And I want to say even another band asked us, when we retired the name, they asked us if they could have the name.
Oh, really?
So there may have been even like a short-lived band in Chicago called Transistor Revolt that was not us, kind of rolling around. So
you still have one of those demos?
The Transistor Revolt demos, these would have been like burned discs, like
hard.
Like
that's sick.
I don't know if I have one anymore, like Xerox copied like covers, that kind of thing. That's what it would have been.
So 10 records. This is your 10th record, and you said about 6 of them Bill Stevenson did.
Yeah,
which is pretty awesome, man. To work with somebody you probably grew up loving, Descendants and all those bands, and
totally. He was actually, we went there for our second record, which was Revolutions Per Minute.
Yep.
Regrettably, I would say that Bill was actually our third choice. It was like we tried to get Steve Ebbets.
Oh yeah,
I think first.
Yeah.
He had just done like a really good sounding Turmoil record.
Okay.
That I was weighing the Turmoil, but he did Sick of It All as well.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, Steve. I know the name. Yeah.
I think he's an East Coast guy. I want to say. And then he wasn't available. And then we got Brian McTurnan.
Oh yeah, Salad Days. Woo.
Yeah, right.
Battery.
Dude, amazing stuff.
Great
so
human.
We tried to get him, and then there was some miscommunication where like we thought we had him, and he was like, "Wait, we never confirmed that." And I was like, "Oh shoot."
Darn.
And then we were like, "What are we gonna do?" And then Bill was available, and we're like, "Well, yeah, let's go to the blasting room." And that's where we just kind of met.
Colorado, yeah.
Yeah, Fort Collins, Colorado, hour north of Denver, and that's where we met like our musical soulmate, which was Bill Stevenson.
Wow.
Like, and a lot of the reason I think I'm here today. Like, and if anybody's heard music that we've done on the radio, chances are it was produced in Fort Collins, Colorado, with Bill Stevenson, Jason Livermore, Andrew Berlin, and the amazing shit they got going on there.
Yeah. To work with Bill, obviously, is like a legend, Black Flag, Descendants,
total legend.
Like amazing drummer, amazing human, interesting human.
Mm-hmm.
That Descendants doc is incredible. I learned so much about him in that documentary.
Dude,
the songs he's written, the stuff he's been through. Like, he's a survivor. He's one of a kind, man, Like,
yeah. People should check out Filmage, which is the Descendants documentary, because the story of the band, but also Bill, and Bill's had a lot of health problems, and we almost lost him there for a minute.
Yeah, so you were probably hanging out with him during that time.
We were there during that time. Yeah.
Wow.
We were trying to make another record with him, and he wasn't healthy, and the label was like, "Yo, you got to pick somebody else," and we're like, "We're not going to pick somebody else. We're just going to wait for him to be healthy," And that's what we did. So they're an amazing team over there. I definitely, if you're a band, you want a great sounding record, and then like put your songs in the hands of someone who's going to care about them. Like the Blasting Room is a great way to go. And Bill's, like you said, is a legend. So many good stories.
Must be interesting working with him. Yeah, just like
he's so much a part of Rise Against. He's like a part of like my songwriting. He's like the guy who's going through my lyrics. He's like, because
he writes a lot of Descendant songs too as well.
That's the thing. Yeah, people don't realize like
until I saw the doc, I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
just one day that. Oh my god.
Yeah, he's like the drummer, but he's like the songwriter. And
Armand's like that and Sick of It All too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Armand is like that.
You know, think about the drummers as writers and stuff. You know,
so I think
and Walter Schreifel is a writer and everything. Gorilla Biscuits, all that.
Yeah, I remember hearing like Tim from Snapcase, the drummer.
Yeah,
like, he was a writer and a lot of that stuff too. And it's like, man, like Sick of It All and Snapcase. The fact that drummers are writing those songs, that makes so much sense.
Yeah,
right. So so percussive. That's like percussive music.
Yeah, and drummers kind of get they get a weird rep. They're like their own little idiot savant kind of thing. But drummers, I don't know, man. Yeah. My drummers always wrote a set list. Like a lot of I know Lars from Metallica writes their set list always, and
that's cool.
They never repeat the same set list in the same city ever. He runs the whole thing.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's hard to do.
That will be hard to do. Yeah. That will be. That's like That's holding. We actually did the Metro last year. We did 3 days of the Metro, the 3 nights of the Metro, where we agreed to play a unique set every single night. But it was a lot of work.
I can't imagine.
It was a lot of work.
Learning old songs, like deep cuts you never played before, maybe.
Totally. And they're just doing them back to back, you know?
Just album songs.
Yep. Yeah. It was definitely, it was fun, but it was definitely gnarly. It was like, we kind of said yes to it, like kind of like haphazardly, you know, and then
you really got to do the work, man.
Totally. And we did that Lala South America that the Blink guys just did. We did it last year. Blink was supposed to do it last year, but
it got moved.
Did
you have lyric sheets and stuff, or you remembered everything?
Lyrics, I've never had a lyric sheet in front of me. Not yet.
No, for the old ones, you pulled out the old ones. You remember?
Even for the old ones, I kind of remembered. Like,
I'm not down with teleprompters and that.
No, maybe it'll be in my life one day, but it's not here
Unless
yet.
I'm Aussie. I respect the Aussie. Got to do it. All good.
Yeah. Yeah,
some people need it.
Like, right, and like I get it. If you're playing some deep cuts all the time, like I might need that.
It's just so to be jumping around trying to read it and just like
it'll be weird. Yeah.
That's what's good about hardcore. If you forget something, you put the mic out to the crowd, and then they remember the lyrics for you if you space out.
Exactly. Yeah, I've done that shit before too.
But yeah. So is there a moment with Rise Against where, when Rise Against starts, you still have a job, or you just full on band? Yeah.
So it was Ticket Broker. And,
that's right.
And Rise Against.
But that's still going, yeah.
And then actually, my dad owned a UPS store.
Sick.
And so he would hire me in between.
Nice.
And actually, the address on the very first Rise Against records would be in a box at that UPS store.
No way.
Yeah. So that's where the mail came. If you sent, like back when people sent mail.
Oh, yeah.
So if you sent mail to Rise Against, like it came.
That's
there.
Amazing.
So it was good.
Working during Christmas rush and stuff.
Exactly. That shit was crazy.
Dude, getting tips and stuff.
Totally.
Yeah.
What's funny is that he would kind of. So, and then even after the band got bigger, I would like be coming home, you know, from a tour, and he'd be like, "Oh, Timothy, I got you on Tuesday from whatever." And so he's got the holiday rush, and I was like, "Dad, I got it. I can't keep working here.
Yeah, I'm good, Dad. Yeah,
I'm good. I don't want to keep working here. I don't need to keep working here.
Yeah,
you know."
That's so awesome, though.
But I remember like having to like tell him like I can't pick up any more hours at the UPS store. Like I got my band, I got I
wonder when he realized like my son's good. Like these guys are killing it. This is his career. This is what's happening. Probably when he comes to see you guys play and stuff. And
yeah, probably when they came to see us play, and then like because even when we like signed to a major, I was probably still pulling hours at UPS store.
Really?
Yeah. And so it would have been right around that time when we signed.
Wow.
Like, I think that was kind of like people because we signed to DreamWorks and like.
Were people barking back then about people were so concerned about labels back then? It was so silly, dude. I think it was after the fact, maybe.
We were actually pretty late in that like rush because like
it was a thing though.
It was a thing. So like I mean, as you know, the bands from our scene, everyone was getting signed.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like we were one of the last to get signed because we were touring with bands like Avenged Sevenfold, AFI, Yellow Card, Thrice, Thursday, Poison the Well. Those were kind of our peers, right?
Totally.
Voice It's Fire.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of those bands were guys we were sharing the road with, and all those bands I think I just mentioned all got picked up.
Totally.
Every single one of them got picked up before we got picked up.
Yeah.
So I feel like we were a little bit of an afterthought for a lot of labels. And it's funny that we're saying this because I just had lunch yesterday with the guy who signed our
That's
band.
right. You told me that.
Yeah. And so it's crazy to catch up with him after that was, over 20 years ago he signed us.
Wow, dude.
And it's crazy because I feel like, he's the same guy who signed Sparta, but he also signed Alien Ant Farm.
Oh, man.
He signed Papa Roach. He signed Power Man 5000.
Back then, the big wow.
Right. And DreamWorks was signing Jimmy Eat World, Saves the Day, AFI.
Saves the Day. Wow.
So DreamWorks had all that, these cool bands from our scene,
Yeah.
And so we were a pretty late sign. And so I feel like, and I think, punk rock is always.
You missed the wave of the message boards and all that stuff.
Yeah, kind of that stuff. Yeah. Like, I mean, people were always going to, have an issue with it, and that was the internal struggle that we were all having as punk rock kids.
Punk rock guilt kind of thing.
Punk rock guilt. Yeah.
But it's like.
So we experienced it, but I don't remember it being anything that we were kind of just comfortable with the decision at that point.
Yeah. I don't understand. Like, if you love a band, why wouldn't you want that band to like be the most successful they can be, to make a living out of doing what they love, support their families, travel the world, continue to make great music for you? I understood why, like, I get like, they're not my band anymore. They're not playing to 10 people in the basement. I get that kind of mentality, but at the same time, it's like this whole sellout thing. I never understood it. I thought it was super cheesy, and I don't know, man.
Well, plus a lot of our favorite bands, we're already on
major
labels. I think this conversation is interesting, and I always want to hear the names of the bands that didn't sign, and then why.
Ooh, interesting.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because in my experience, everybody who is asked signs.
Yeah, that's true.
Almost nobody turns it down.
At least get the free dinners.
I think I heard, I could be wrong, but I think I heard Snapcase turned it down because I think Victory gave him like a counter offer. And maybe that was the right choice.
Those are bread and butter.
And obviously a band like Fugazi is not going to sign. You know what I mean? But even like, they even met. Not meet, but they had that guy Amit come out to see them play.
That's right.
I would love to hear about the bands that didn't sign, because the reality is almost every band that's asked.
I remember Rancid would get naked pictures from Madonna. I was hanging out with them back then. This other guy died. This other guy from Epic dyed his hair blue.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
Yeah. People. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think anybody was really. There wasn't like, we weren't like a crazy bidding war kind of band. But we felt comfortable that like DreamWorks was the right place, and that we had creative control. Even though DreamWorks folded 6 months after we signed.
Wow.
And we ended up in the Geffen Interscope kind of machine. But I'll tell you this much.
Wow.
When I was 25 years old.
Yep.
I signed a 5-record deal. We made all 5 of those records. We never turned in a demo for a single one of them. What we delivered was the final product.
Yeah, that's so cool. That's awesome. Yeah.
Nobody ever really came and
tried to tell you how to. Yeah.
No, we never changed anything.
That's so cool.
People, they barely even heard it before it was a done thing.
Yeah.
So like,
you picked your producer and all that stuff.
We picked Bill Stevenson.
Oh, that's so great.
I mean, we took their budget and went to a furniture warehouse in Fort Collins, Colorado,
so cool.
to make records with the drummer of the Descendants.
That's so
cool. You know what I mean? And
man.
then put these songs on the radio. And 3 of those records went platinum.
It's so amazing, bro.
So we really,
I love that, dude.
We got away with shit. Like
that's incredible.
We did it exactly the same, the way I'm sure, and I think.
And with Bill Stevenson from Black Flag and
with fucking Bill Stevenson,
platinum records,
we got
bro.
to take him with us. We got like
so cool.
Make sure that like
talk about like not forgetting your roots. And,
yeah,
man.
Like those records, those guys will tell you like changed their lives too and changed their studio.
Yeah.
And it was
put on the map.
We got to do it like as a family together. We got to like celebrate together, and like we got to like, send gold records to Bill, you know what I mean? And that kind of thing. And
that's surreal. That's wild, man.
It was wild, and it's that was our experience and has been our experience in like the whole major label world. I know every band's experience is different.
Yeah, you had a good experience.
I got a lot of friends who have a lot of horror stories. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and maybe we'll have horror stories in our future. But like, I will tell you, like what you hear on those records, like we just that's what we handed. That's what we handed off.
Yeah. How many years on a major now?
We did a 5-record deal with under the Universal Interscope Geffen world, and we did all 5 of those records.
That's awesome.
And then after we were a free agent, we signed to Virgin for a record called Wolves.
Yep. 2017.
Yeah, and that was a one-off.
Oh, that's cool.
For Virgin. And then Nowhere Generation, which is our most recent record.
2021 and 2022, part 2.
Loma Vista Records.
What is that?
Loma Vista is run by Tom Wally and Ryan Wally. Tom Wally was...
I know those names.
President of Warner Brothers for a long time. He's from Interscope. Tom Wally's like a legend. He's like a
legend.
A Googleable legend of a name.
Yes, dude.
And he started like a more like boutique kind of label.
That's cool.
Excuse me, with his son. But they have like St. Vincent and Military Gun.
Love Military Gun.
Manchester Orchestra and Ghost. You know,
yeah.
But they have a really cool roster of bands. They're a cool label, and I really like them. Like when we were in the Universal world, there was nobody at Universal that I felt comfortable like calling. You know,
a lot of people, right? Yeah,
it's just a huge ass building, and like
as opposed to just texting Fat Mike, which is the difference.
Right, totally. Yeah,
and Brett Gurewitz, I could just call them or text them, that was a big difference going to a major. But we did one record, but yeah.
You guys did Warner?
We did MCA one record, man.
Oh yeah. What year was that?
2001.
Okay.
Yeah, that was. Oh, man. I mean, for me, it went under also, and it merged with Universal. So like less than maybe a year later, the whole thing crumbled. MCA went away, and we just got let go.
Oh right.
Because we had like a 5 record deal in there, obviously too. But I mean, people know my love and hate for this whole experience, but the songs are great.
Yeah.
People love that record now. Back then, we were sellouts on every freaking message board. Man. And it was produced by Matt Wallace because he did like all the Replacements records and Faith No More. He was picked by our band. It was a dream to work with Matt Wallace. Totally. He was incredible. That experience was, I was halfway in LA, halfway in New York, moving out with my wife. I wasn't stoked about leaving Epitaph Records. I was nervous. You know, Newfound Glory and Blink were on there telling us, come over here. It's awesome over here. And yeah. I would love to remix that record with Chad Gilbert producing it because I love his production.
Yeah.
It's just, to me, it's just overproduced, over poppy. My voice is like doubled and tripled. I wasn't there for any of the mixing. My band was there the whole time staying at the Oakwoods. I was going back and forth. My head, I didn't write one lyric on this. Only album I never wrote one lyric on my whole career in this band. Dude.
Oh damn. That's crazy, dude.
My brother took over, man. I let my brother and Rusty take over. I don't regret it because people, every time I mention this, people hit me up and say, I heard you on the podcast. I love that record.
Yeah.
So many people, that was their first H2O record. They loved that record. We covered a Madonna song on there.
That's cool.
It was we played Conan O'Brien. It was really crazy moments for us. But in my heart of hearts, like I felt so bad leaving Brett Gurewitz, you know?
Yeah.
And he told us you can always come back. Like he was so cool about it.
He was cool about it. That's cool.
But it was just weird, dude. It was a weird moment in my life, dude. Like, it's not a regret. It's just like, I wish I was more present there, you know?
Yeah.
We were so burnt from touring on the other records, and then...
That's a lot of heavy circumstances you were dealing with to make it. And then you were probably a lot like us, too. We were just deer in headlights. We didn't know what was happening. Because our major label debut was done with Garth Richardson.
Okay.
Garth.
And what year did that come out for you? What was the first?
That was 2004, I want to say.
The Siren Song of the Counterculture?
Yeah, Siren Song.
Yeah.
And so, kind of like you, I don't love the sound of that record.
Okay.
Like, I don't love the sound of like my voice. It's a pretty slick production.
Okay.
We chose Garth because he was a pretty high profile guy, but he had done Sick of It All's Built to Last.
Great album.
Perfect album.
So
we knew he kind of like at least would know like a bit of our world. But he also did the first Rage Against the Machine record. You know what I mean?
That's amazing, dude.
I mean, he's done a lot of stuff. At that time, he was doing a lot of like new metal-y kind of things. And so I feel like there's almost kind of like a new metal sheen on like that record for me. But we were kind of just deer in headlights. We're making our debut for a major label.
Yeah.
You know, we had our songs. Everyone's like talking about us and what it's going to be. You know what I mean? Like you're sort of like
a lot of pressure and weird stuff.
A lot of pressure, band of the moment. Like the scene politics of it all too, which I felt the scene politics when we signed to Fat Records, to be honest.
Really?
Because I was playing in hardcore bands in the city, and so even...
And a West Coast pop punk label or something?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I was a sellout in Chicago when we signed to Fat Records.
Got you.
You know what I mean? Like I'd go to like...
Because it wasn't a Chicago label or Victory or East Coast?
It was just a big international label. And like nobody in Chicago was really doing that.
Yeah,
I know, exactly. But it was independent.
I know.
Like I'd come to like the show the weekend after we signed, and I'd just get like all my friends be like, oh, did Fat Mike buy your new van? You know what I mean? Oh, it must be nice. You know, is Fat Mike flying you around? You know, it's like there was this idea that like we were just like made men because we were just on Fat Records. And it was a big deal.
Yeah.
But it was like, and so when my own little hardcore scene kind of like abandoned me and it was like call me rock star while my band was playing for 50 kids a night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was like living in a house with 4 dudes and working a job.
Yeah.
And I'm getting called rock star. You know what I mean? When the people close to me were like throwing stones, it made it so like nobody could ever throw stones at me like ever again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it was like I already had the worst of it.
Yeah.
By the people close to me. So it's like I don't.
But it also makes you want to like kill even harder and still, you know what I mean?
I knew I was confident what we
Yeah.
were doing. I was confident what we were doing. I was confident and we were making the right decisions. And I knew our songs were like needed to get to more people. And
Of course.
I knew we were working hard, but we were just for people.
Yeah.
And even Fat Wreck was like, they didn't have a radio department.
Yeah, were they bummed about you guys leaving? Was it hard?
Mike gave us his blessing.
Okay, yeah. Same with Brett. That was so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if he gave every band his blessing, but he gave us his blessing, and he'll tell you to this day, he was like, Rise was the band that should have left for a major. Cause I think.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, and so, and he kind of like, like Brett said, he said you can come back.
Yeah.
And so it I think it worked out, and it was cool, and I don't know, I'm grateful for the whole thing. What's crazy about our major label debut record too is that the two songs that were the major singles on it, which was a song called Give It All, and the acoustic song Swing Life Away, were two previously released comp tracks before that record came out. Yeah, can you believe that?
No, I did not. That's crazy.
I was just talking to our A&R guy yesterday about it because it was his idea to do the acoustic song. It was like Give It All had come out on a Rock Against Bush compilation that Fat put out back in the day.
Yeah.
And we just re-recorded it for the album. And then Swing Life Away was an acoustic song that I just kind of wrote.
Esteban directed the video, correct?
He did. You know Esteban?
That's my boy, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, he did. That was awesome.
I watched the video recently. I was like, wow, because he mentioned that on my podcast a while ago.
He did?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. He remembers. Yeah.
That's cool, man. Yeah. I watched the video. It's awesome.
Dude, what a cool time. Yeah. That song came out on a Fearless Records Punk Goes acoustic comp.
Okay.
Like a year before we put it on the album.
Got you.
And so to put out a major label record and then give these two songs to a major label that we'd already given to the independent world.
Yeah.
And it didn't change our lives, but then give those same two songs to like a major world, and it kind of changed our lives.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah. It was kind of nuts.
That is crazy. And then something on here, I put the notes for that record that said that was the first one, which was like 2004, right?
Yeah.
But just later on, just some of the stuff you were doing is on the Endgame album too, like Make It Stop and those videos about suicide and just the lyrics you would talk about. Homophobia, like and against bullying and all that stuff. I think it's cool, like to be that big and have songs that are on the radio saying about topics like that. Because you said most of the ones that were pretty big weren't super political, but they had obviously your lyrics is so important.
Yeah,
and talking about different subjects.
Yeah, I think like a song like Make It Stop. It was like there was like a wave of gay teen suicides that were happening across like the world, really. And I was like, man, and then that was happening, and simultaneously we were meeting fans who had questions about like our stances on like LGBTQ, you know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. And I was like, man, have we not made this clear that you have a question about it? Like that we are inclusive of everybody here. And and it broke my heart to think there might be a fan out there.
I gotta keep going.
Oh, cool. What's up, Stella? I remember it was a fan, specifically it was a fan who said that she was afraid to tell us that she was gay because she wasn't sure how we would feel about it.
What?
And so it was like, I mean, I was like, well, first of all, like, we love you as a fan. We love everything about you. Like, please. But then it broke my heart. Are there more fans out there wondering how we feel about this? And have we not made ourselves perfectly clear? And did
understand? And
so kind of Make It Stop was like, maybe we need to write a song about this. Like, maybe if it's not, sometimes you think that your stance is clear. Sometimes you think people understand you, but you get misunderstood or your shit gets conflated. And so Make It Stop was almost like this kind of like blanket statement that I wanted to address that. And between that and like this wave of gay teen suicides, I felt like, let's talk about this and let's put like, the rock scene and certainly like the heavy, hard rock scene. Yeah. I feel like is one of the last sanctuaries for like bias sometimes, 100%, when it comes to that. Like, and so I felt like it was kind of putting water where the fire was a little bit. So, and I'm grateful we did it because I feel like that song got a lot of miles.
Yeah, and then you did the song for Peter too, the ballads of Hollis Brown, the Bob Dylan cover. That was from Amnesty International benefit. Yeah, that was really cool. Yeah, there was like they were doing, Bob Dylan kind of like graciously donated his catalog to this record. That's cool.
That bands could cover and then they could raise money. And we picked the Ballad of Hollis Brown, and then it had a blast making that. And then Amnesty paid for a video for us to make. And then we actually filmed the video at the college I went to in Chicago.
That's awesome.
There was like TV studios there.
Oh, you must have been naming a plaque there by now, man, going back and graduating.
You know what's funny is that it wasn't that kind of school. Like people didn't really know that I went there.
Okay.
I only recently, someone reached out from the school a few months ago and they were like, I want to interview you for the school. Like people don't know that you went to the school.
For the school newspaper.
Yeah, it was kind of like that,
Wow.
And I was like, well, that's cool. I'm like I went there and I was a DJ at your radio station, but it was more of a kind of a commuter school.
Yeah.
And so people weren't like living there. So there wasn't like a lot of like that same college alum camaraderie.
It makes it almost cool that you went to that school though in the first place.
It's a good school. It's a great school. It's a great school for people whose parents can't afford to send them to like some really fancy schools or don't want to walk out of college with a ton of debt.
Yeah. Is there a moment when Rise Against where obviously you guys are a big band, then you start playing from clubs to like whatever bigger venues to theaters to like probably arenas, right? And then like just when has it been overwhelming? Have you had a chance to like digest it all? Do you ever just sit home and think about what's happened in these past 20 years with the band? It's just because it's another level. You're still a hardcore band. You're a hardcore kid. Your morals, your values, your ethics, and all that. But just obviously you're in a different world of like I don't know, like the venues you're playing, how big you guys are. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think we got lucky with the Rise because it was a real slow build.
Oh, that's nice.
We didn't have like one
overnight success
SNL performance that like skyrocketed us to whatever, you know what I mean? Like we didn't have, it was a real slow build. It was
nice though.
It was a build that happened very early on, like even before like social media and a lot of the internet. So it was a build that you didn't know was happening until you showed up to the city. You know what I mean? It was like, whoa, there's tons of kids here.
Yeah.
Where do they come from? Nowadays you're not as surprised because you know what's coming,
Yeah.
And so we got to do that all. We were sort of.
It was organic.
It was organic. We were a bit of the underdogs too.
Like
we weren't like a big standout name in the cover of magazines. We were just kind of like the little engine that could. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like people would kind of underestimate us, but we would keep showing up record after record, and with songs that would like stronger songs and stronger material.
Do you feel like you had something to prove?
Yeah, I feel like that. I feel like
still though.
Yeah, a little bit. Okay. Yeah. I still feel a little bit like that. I think that we're a band that's like, we're not going to be on the cover of Rolling Stone, but we're going to keep showing up to your town every couple of years and put on a good show and try to put out a good record. And I feel like there's something to that. Like I remember when I played sports as a kid, I was never like great at any of it, but I remember playing baseball. I couldn't hit a home run, but I got on base every single time I got up to a bat.
That's awesome.
And my coach knew that, you know what I mean? And so he put me in the top of the order because he's like, yo, this kid's not going to hit a home run. He's probably not going to hit a double. But something about him, he gets on first base, so we can rely on him. And I feel like that's been Rise. Like we get on first base. And like
that's cool.
We do that, and we do that consistently. And now over 20 years, that's all of a sudden that means something. You know? For
sure. So you sucked at sports.
That's the gist of the.
You play hockey? Chicago?
No, not a lot of kids played hockey.
Okay.
Growing up around Chicago, it was a really expensive sport to play, there wasn't a lot of like resources to play hockey, so I didn't really know anybody that played hockey. And then the Blackhawks were not a popular team in the '90s in Chicago. They were just a team that people kind of like. They weren't good. People kind of forgot about them. Ownership had a blackout on them for a while, like they weren't putting them on TV.
Oh wow!
For one reason or another, and so the Hawks of today, cause I'm a hockey fan now, are like a different beast than they were like back in the '90s. It wasn't like a sport people were like obsessed with.
Yeah, my wife's from Chicago.
Right.
We go to all the Blackhawks games. We haven't been this past year because a bunch of the people on the team that she loved aren't there anymore. And
she's absolutely right.
And but every time I go see her, the Hawks always win, and there's always a fight against the LA Kings.
Dude, the Kings-Hawks was a huge rivalry because Hawks won 3 cups between like 2010 and 2015, and the cups we didn't win, the Kings won. So it was like we were always battling.
Kane, is it Kane?
Yeah, Patrick.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the names now. My wife had the jersey and stuff.
Yeah. He's still out there playing. He's not the Hawks anymore. He's with the Red Wings, which is kind of like
Detroit. Wow,
a huge rival of ours as well. But those glory years were amazing, and a couple of the guys on the team were Rise fans.
Wow.
So like I go to games.
You play your songs at the games?
Play our songs at the games.
Dude.
And then I'll tell you a great quick story. I'll try to make it quick.
No, let's hear it, dude. That's cool.
During those years, we had a goalie named Corey Crawford.
Yeah.
That like your wife will know.
Definitely knows.
He was like our all-star Crow. And he was a Rise fan. And we're in the middle of like a cup running season, which might have been 2013.
I was probably going to games then for sure.
Yeah, so
100%.
Crows in goal. Like we're destined to win the cup. Like we're trying to go for the Stanley Cup that year, and then Corey comes to a Rise Against show in Chicago and breaks his ankle at the show.
What? Are you serious? She probably knows this too.
He's out.
Are people so bummed at Rise Against at that point?
He's our number one goalie. We are a Stanley Cup running team.
Oh my God,
and
dude.
our goalie is out. Just out.
Did he stage dive or something?
He was doing some silly stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dude, no way. Were people like tripping?
So I was like, we played the show, and I was in Texas the next morning at a hotel bar, and I see this thing scroll across the TV, like Corey Crawford, like lower body injury. And I'm like, wait, what? And I'm just like, oh my God. People start finding out it was at our show.
Did you meet him at the show? Did he come say hi and stuff?
Yeah, I already knew him.
Okay, already knew him. Okay.
So we invited him
but
to
you
the
didn't
show.
know what happened at your show?
Yeah. And
Dude.
so I found out, well, I think he didn't even know what happened. I think he got hurt, but he thought it wasn't that bad, you know, and the next morning he was kind of not doing well. And
oh my God.
Dude, I was like thinking Chicago's going to hate us. Like we just took out our goalie, you know, and everyone's going to find out. And I got to live in this city. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude.
And the guy that's his backup to replace him has never played in the NHL before. And they put him in, and he's a guy named Scott Darling. And he goes in.
I hope Scott does good.
So then that's what I'm saying. I'm like, hope Scott does good. So it turns out Scott does great.
Okay.
Scott like saves the season. Corey comes back at the end of the season.
So this guy was, so it was a good thing that happened.
Scott was a local boy too. So people really rallied behind him too. And actually Scott was doing so good that I was like, wait, is Corey going to be out of a job now because of me?
Oh, yeah.
Right. Is Scott taking over?
Did it take a while for him to come back?
He came back that season.
Okay.
And he was at the Cup, and they won the Cup that year.
That's amazing.
Which is like so amazing because now everyone will just forget about that story completely. If we would have lost that year, like, you know, a team that wins, nobody asks any more questions.
True.
You just win. When you lose, everyone scans the whole season, and they're like, what went wrong? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I didn't want anybody scanning the season and then like being like, oh, rise against. You guys are the guys that
Dude.
took out our goalie and we lost to the Kings that year or whatever it was going to be.
Is it safe to say they play you guys at all the sports events out there and not just hockey?
What do you mean?
Like the baseball games or football games?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah. I feel like I hear our songs. Hockey, I hear our songs, and the Bears play our songs sometimes.
Bears, yeah, that's cool.
And I don't go to Cubs games, but I'm a big White Sox fan.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah, it's been cool because I've thrown the first pitch out at Sox games. I sang the national anthem at a couple Sox games.
Wow, dude. How was that? Like singing the national anthem?
That was
it so stressful?
Dude, it was so stressful too because
you're not singing in front of a crowd of people that really like, you know what I mean?
I'm used to having a guitar in front of me and my band.
I gotta see. I'm pulling up today.
It's up there. Yeah. I was like, I remember like this. They asked me, and I was like, how could I say no? So I went out there,
dude. It's crazy.
And then I kind of practiced it a couple of times because I mean, maybe you don't sing the anthem around the house.
No.
You know? So.
Did you know the words from growing up? You think there was some words there were some words.
I had
that's what they've been saying.
Yeah, right. There was some of that, you know. But I do remember going out there. It was opening day too. So it's like a big.
That's huge.
They're gonna have like Air Force jets fly over. The
in
teams
hometown,
were gonna
bro.
line up, you know. Because a national anthem at what a game is not an opening game. People aren't even in there for it.
Okay.
I mean, it happens like before people are still parking.
Yeah.
But at an opening day game, like people are there.
Huge, dude.
Like the ball players are out in the field. You know, it's a big deal. And I'm out there, and I got like an in-ear thing, and I got a microphone, and I've been practicing it.
Is your whole family there?
Fam was there. Like my dad was there. My dad was in he was in a box with like Chance the Rapper and Ozzie Guillen.
That's amazing.
He didn't know who Chance the Rapper was.
So Chance the Rapper knows who you are now. That's sick.
But he knew who Ozzie Guillen was, and
hard.
And his son singing the anthem. When we grew up like trying to buy tickets from scalpers outside of Sox Park. You know, so it was pretty cool.
That you were selling.
It was pretty rad. Yeah, and then. But I remember getting out there, and like you might appreciate this as a singer, like I'm never without a guitar.
Yeah.
And so I'm never without the key of the song.
Okay.
And when I got out there, I realized what key? How do I start this?
Wow.
Like you have a guitar, like someone's playing it and being like, here's where the song starts. You're not asked to just like sing into the ether, you know?
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, holy shit, dude, you can't start this song in the wrong key. If you start too
especially
high,
this song, yeah.
Screwed. And I remember I had like a voice memo on my phone of me practicing. And I remember like as it's coming around, like the announcements are going on, I'm down there being like, "What's the first note? What's the first note?" No way,
dude.
And then
you killed it probably.
And then it was fine. Yeah. It was like, but I remember thinking like, I remember looking back and thinking, if this goes poorly, this will get more views than any of the videos you've ever made.
Yeah, dude.
And I was like, that's a crazy risk that you take when you do that.
Yeah, man. But it went good, so obviously.
It went good and it was cool. And I've done it since actually.
Oh, you did it since then? Wow.
I did it since, but now I have like I had like a note played inside my ear to like be like, okay, here's where the song is. That's like, I think it's
you feel like you did better the second time?
I did better the second time, mostly because I had that note. Because I found out.
I'm just less nervous probably too.
Well, I found out anthem singers do that. They'll have like a piano playing in their ear. They'll have something going on in there to help them like reference the song. So they're not just like singing.
Like a scratch track or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that makes way more sense.
Wow.
Yeah.
What is your involvement in punk rock paint brushes? You part of that?
Oh, So I'm part of their origin story, but I'm not an artist.
Okay.
So Emily.
Oh, you never did art for them yet?
No, I'm not an artist at all.
Okay.
You don't want me doing art. Though Emily, who runs Punk, she's always trying to get me to do something. But Emily survived a bout with cancer.
Okay.
And a song of ours helped her. It was called Survive.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
And so,
is she from Chicago?
No, she's not from Chicago.
Okay.
But we met on the Warped Tour.
Okay. Emily Nielsen, yeah.
She's great. And then, so we collaborated on this art. I didn't do the art, but I wrote the lyrics over the art.
Okay.
And that kind of just sort of like started her on this journey of
that's cool, man.
Of like curating art from all of these musicians.
Like musicians
it's
really cool.
That are your friends and my friends, and like guys like Skiba and Caballero and
Asoy.
Yeah, Jason Cruz.
Yeah.
Which is
Mark
so cool.
DeSalvo.
Yeah, like Tim Armstrong.
Yeah.
Like you find out a lot of these guys and girls are like have these amazing talents that aren't just what we know them for.
100%.
And she found that cool niche where it's like, let's get these people together, because maybe an art gallery might not appreciate like what amazing artists they are, but like their fans will definitely appreciate it.
100%.
And so that's been really cool.
Yeah, she got Mike Gallo from Gnostic Front. So many people do it. It's cool, and it's like all over the place. They travel. Dan Smith does it. A bunch of tattoo artists.
Yeah, right. Yeah, totally.
It's awesome.
It's pretty awesome. But Emily and I joke because I feel like I'm part of her origin story, so people assume that I'm like a painter or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, no.
I'm surprised you don't paint. It's interesting.
I think that shit's amazing. I love art. I love people that have that ability. It fascinates me.
What about Lords of Dogtown? How did that happen?
Oh, dude, that was crazy. I'll tell you what.
Nervous Breakdown, so cool.
Dude, I'll tell you what I was told. At least I was told that so Lords of Dogtown, the movie with like Emil Hirsch, that was like
I loved it. It was a great movie.
Telling the story of like Tony Alva and like all the Dogtown and Z Boys. We were told that they went out and like surveyed kids, asking them what band should play Black Flag, what modern day band should play Black Flag in the movie, and Rise Against came back as the answer, which we were like totally flattered by. I'm assuming that's a real story. I don't know.
That's sick,
I can't vouch for it.
That's cool,
but
man.
We get a call like, do you want to play Black Flag in a movie? And we're like, oh yeah, that sounds amazing.
Especially like meet a skater and stuff. It's so cool,
dude,
man.
It was so cool. And so we
shot that in LA?
Yeah, we shot in LA. I forget what we were doing, but what was really cool is that Bill was at Disney World or Disneyland, right? It's Disneyland out here.
Yeah.
He was at Disneyland with his kids that week, and we're like, dude, Bill, we're playing Black Flag in a movie. You got to come to the set,
Yeah.
And he was like, all right. And he rolls up in the set, like his rental car and the strollers, you know what I mean? And we're dressed like Black Flag.
Wow.
They recreated an old Sim skate jersey.
That's cool.
Like a hockey jersey kind of.
Okay.
And they put it on me which is like, I don't picture Keith Morris wearing that thing, but there's like one or two pictures of him wearing it.
There is. Yeah.
So like, it was like, all right, cool. And then
like jeans and stuff, or
like it was like jeans and like almost like a military cargo hat or whatever. Dressed everybody else up like Black Flag, and then we had covered the song with Bill producing it.
That's cool.
And they just played the cover, and we just got into this like, it was like it felt like the floor of like I guess it was a venue.
That's cool.
And we just played the song over and over while like Emil Hirsch was like getting like bounced around in a pit, and Bill was there watching his childhood get recreated
so cool,
by the band that he's now producing.
Dude.
And I remember, I think Greg Ginn's mom or stepmom
was there
because Bill knew her, and it was pretty cool.
Wow.
Like, to be there, but also to share it with Bill. In the moment, like his kids are watching a scene from his life get reenacted.
Yeah. What about like balance and family? You got a family, you're in a band, you're traveling. It's pretty hard to be away from your kids. I'm sure they come out as much as they can. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just balancing all that, how important it is to have a family. And it's interesting in hardcore and punk rock because I feel like there's the stereotypes of like the old metal bands of like dudes getting fucked up and cheating on their wives and going on tour being rock stars, and hardcore dudes are like eating the healthy, getting smoothies, like have their wives on tour.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? It's so different. It's just like it's just like that. It's the opposite of rock star.
Right.
But just balancing it all, it's been you're good at that, right?
I mean, I wasn't always good at it for sure.
Yeah.
Like I feel like, especially starting out as the band, like I had my daughter on our third record, and my daughter was like, she was born on May 28th, and by like June 5th I was on the Warped Tour for 8 weeks.
May 28th is the day I got married.
Are you serious?
It's tattooed all over my body.
Dude, that's amazing.
It's on my was it my finger or whatever? I'll show it later, but yeah.
Oh hell yeah.
That's awesome.
That's a good friend of mine's birthday is that day too. So,
that's cool.
Yeah, she'll be 20 coming up, and so like that was 20 years ago, and so those early years, man, I was just on the road, and it's one of those things, I don't know about how it worked for you, but like I really wanted to do this band, but after having a kid, I also was recognizing that this was a responsibility to take seriously. And this band is a cool dream that you have, but if it's not paying the bills and you're gone 9 months of the year, you're going to need to make some hard decisions.
Yes.
And so this first couple of years, I felt were very much like do or die.
Yeah.
It was like we either do this or
110%.
Right. But if you're gone 9 months of the year and you're only bringing home $18,000 a year anyway, you can do that. Like work at McDonald's, dude. You know what I mean?
100%.
And so
you get probably benefits too.
Right. Exactly. So you need to make some hard decisions. So those first 4 years were like, it was grinding. And then also in the back of my head being like, do I need to pull the plug on this? So it was tenuous, you know what I mean? Because the rise, even with our major label debut, it was not overnight success. Like I said, it was
still grinding, man.
We were still grinding. We were still struggling, you know what I mean? And then the absence was hard, being away from your family. Yeah. You really needed to justify that.
No FaceTime back then either.
No FaceTime, dude. No, I mean,
that's a game changer.
It was calling cards, you know what I mean? There was no
calling
cell
cards,
phones.
that's right, dude.
Yeah, dude. It was like no nothing.
But when they're super young, they're not really, they don't know about time and how long and stuff like that. So I remember when Max was just born, I went on tour with Hazen Street for like a year, but he was just a baby. So that was a good timing, but you don't want to miss anything though, you know?
Yeah, you don't want to miss anything. And I've got a great wife, you know, that I've known since high school. And
that's so cool, man.
Yeah, like she's seen my
You've been together
Baxter.
since high school?
We didn't date in high school, but we were like I stalked her from afar.
That is so cool.
She was older and cooler than me.
And then reconnected later? After high school?
Yeah. We were never really out of connection, but like I think I finally got the guts to talk to her like out of high school. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then so she's been there for all of it. She's seen my first band play, you know what I mean, all that stuff too. And so she understood that it was like, this is what I want to do. And
we're big kids too.
Huh?
I thought, what is big kids too? Musicians?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. That's all we are. Yeah.
So you go on tour and you with your brothers and you're talking like a sailor and saying those kinds of things you can't say at home, and you just kind of no responsibilities, just out here playing shows. It's like it's incredible.
It's incredible. Yeah.
But then you get back home and Mara's like, "Here's your son. Change the diapers.
Right.
Daddy duty time." Like.
There's a lot of that.
But just balancing all that too, man. And having a solid wife is so important, man.
Because, you're sacrificing, but she's sacrificing a lot.
Yeah, she's holding down everything for you.
She's rolling like a single mom. You know what I mean? Like relying on people around her, and, you're not there for the good times, the bad times, whatever.
Yes, everything.
So I feel like we found balance later.
That's cool.
I would say that we did not have it right away.
Yeah.
But luckily, I play in a cool band where my guys are all family guys.
Yep.
You know what I mean? They're all long time married with kids, you know what I mean? Like our dressing rooms are pretty boring,
same.
And we all want to be home like for stuff, so I didn't have to like, it's not like I'm in a band with like 3 bachelors who are trying to convince me to go on a 10-week tour. Like I'm in a band with dudes who are like, hey, let's tour smart.
Yeah. What's the longest you tour for now?
I try not to do more than 3 weeks if we can, it'll be, sometimes it's longer than that, but like if it has to be, but that's kind of like, we were like, let's do 3 weeks and let's make sure there's like 2 weeks off in between tours and let's not do stupid stuff. And so we used to just kind of like, whatever you set us up to do, we're doing it. But then now we go through it more like, I look at the travel more, it's like, well, how do you got to get from this town to this town?
How long's that drive? Can I fly to that next show?
Yeah. I'm literally just asking what time's lobby call.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, is it 4 a.m. and there's a show that day? Let's not do that.
That's so brutal for singing. Sleep is so important.
Right. Because you've been in a situation where you're like, how did we agree to this?
The Australian ones, you're flying every day, or South America, you're flying every day.
Yeah.
And that's how that's how you do it, bro. Unless you have like a couple days off.
Right. Totally. Yeah.
Are you singing a couple days and taking days off?
Yeah, that's what we're like. I've 3 in a row is pretty much like what I like to max out.
That's nice.
Every once in a while would be like, there might be a 4 in a row that gets snuck in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if it was up to me, like I want to do like 2 in a row and then take a day off. You know what I mean? So.
But back in the day, you did way more than that.
Oh, dude, it wasn't even up to me. It was just
we had no choice, man.
You're just up there. And I think also when you start, for us, we were an opening band for a long time. Opening bands play for 25 minutes, 30 minutes. I can kind of do that 7 nights a week probably.
But
then as you move your way up the marquee and now you're the headlining band, it's like, oh, I've never actually played for an hour and a half.
Hour and a half every night?
Yeah, that's about like an hour 15 maybe. And so then all of a sudden, it's like going from running like a 5K to like running like, a 15K.
Yeah.
It's like all of a sudden it's like you find out I got to get to the end of this race here and I
100%.
got to pace myself. I got to do it again tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like all that shit. I mean, it's like.
Are you doing your vocal warm-ups and all that stuff?
Yeah. I did vocal warm-ups for sure.
Warm-downs.
And I kind of like, I went and tried to learn how to sing a couple of years ago.
Nice.
Yeah. It was like.
Went back to school, went back to singing.
Exactly. It was like, I hit a moment where I was like, you can't keep doing this like this. You know what I mean? Because even if I got through a show, I knew it wasn't my best sometimes. You know what I mean?
Were you blowing your voice still?
Blowing voice, or, you know, just not feeling as confident as I was. Not many cancellations. Like, I've canceled shows.
Yeah,
but
same. I hate doing it, but
you're a human being.
Gotta do it, man.
You're a human being.
Yeah,
man. You know, we're all human beings, and like at some point, if your vocal cords are swollen shut, you know that you're a human being.
Yeah,
you know that's what.
Yeah,
you can't change the strings. You can't like get a new amp. You know what I mean? And so
it's your tool.
Right. So you got to do it. Sometimes you got to do it like to save the rest of the tour too.
Yeah.
You know, if you can.
You have to cancel way more than just the one show.
Yeah, exactly.
But sleep is so important. I know people always think like, have your honey, have your tea. But my singing coach, Melissa Cross, shout out to Melissa Cross. I don't know if you know that, Screaming in Zen.
I know of her. I would love to meet her one day.
I got you. I'll connect you with that. She's incredible. It changed my life. But she's like, just don't talk. Like, I would write notes all day. I'm not talking to, instead of whispering,
totally.
Just quiet the whole day until you play the show, and it helps.
Yep.
And sleep is so important. Water, hydration. But like the gum, the honey, all that. I do chew gum on stage because I saw Dave Grohl do it. And it keeps my shit moist. It really works for me, man.
That's cool.
But sometimes I'll spit it out or almost choke on it because I'm jumping around.
Yeah.
But yeah, it really, I don't know. I've been doing it for a long time. It just feels good. But it's mostly just not talking. And the sleep, and it's hard to get good sleep on tour, man.
It's like, it's a muscle.
And eating good too.
Eating good, sleep, hydration, all those things. There are like those quick fixes like tea and honey, whatever. But those are all things to make up for the fact that you didn't get enough sleep or you didn't drink enough. You know what I mean? Like 100%. They're not going to save you. And like you said, like a vocal rest, like knowing when you wake up in the morning, like maybe spend a few hours like not using your voice and just letting that muscle kind of recover, you know, because it's still very sensitive from the night before.
After the show, you're talking to people after the show. You're talking all day in the bus or the van, and like,
because shows are just so much more than just those like 90 minutes on stage. You're kind of entertaining a dressing room afterwards, and it's a lot for you like mentally, and it's a lot for you physically. And if you're having a bad night, like all those
draining,
things.
bro.
Yeah, and so I realized at one point I was like, if you're gonna keep doing this, like you need to like figure it out. And that's when I have a vocal coach named Davin Youngs in Chicago.
Nice.
And I met him, and like he'll tell you too, I was very hesitant to like, it's like we're hardcore guys. We don't go to vocal coaches.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, I was like, I like what I do. I don't want it to change.
Yeah, Blue Sick of it all do this? No, he didn't do it. Okay. Right. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, totally.
But he does do it. But yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like
it changed his life too.
And that's the thing. If anyone is still of that mindset, like you can still be you. Like go meet with a vocal coach. They're not going to change what you do.
You're just making yourself stronger. You're making it so you can last. You can not cancel shows and continue playing shows.
Totally. And he changed my life. He kind of like took apart my whole engine.
That's cool.
And it was scary as shit.
I'm sure.
Because it was like, you know, it really is like an engine. It's like you're prized. It's your muscle car and your drive when you love it. And when someone puts it in pieces, you're like, what the fuck did you do to my car? I need that car. You know
That's a good point.
So like maybe you need it that day even. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you got it in pieces. And I would say it's like, it took me 2 years to really kind of put together what he was saying.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember him telling me that too. Because it wasn't clicking for me right away. And it was times, and I had this love-hate thing of like, I would like go to him and I'd be like, this is cool. And then I'd go play a show and I'm like, it didn't work. Like, I don't want to go, I don't want to go back to him. You know what I mean? He's wrecking it. And one day it started clicking for me, what I was doing right and what I was doing wrong. And I remember telling him that, and he was like, I knew it would take like 2 years. And I was like, well, why did you tell me that? He's like, because I knew you'd walk away if I told you 2 years.
Yeah.
It's like, and I was like, oh, you're right. I probably would have. If you would have told me I was going to take 2 years to do this shit, I've been like, I'm not
be happy you did it.
I'm so happy I did. It's changed my life.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it's made me, I feel like I kind of like renewed my lease a little bit.
That's
you know
cool.
What I mean? And I don't have to go out there struggling. I don't have to go out there being like a 90% version of like who I was. You know, I go out there feeling pretty like a lot more confident, and it's still a lot of work. And like
you warm down too and do all that stuff.
All that stuff. And it's not. I still have bad nights. You know what I mean? Like I still got the day where I've got a cold or where I
just push through it,
or I just went too hard the night before. You know what I mean? Or there's too many nights in a row, or whatever it is. Or sometimes just a mental game. You're just out. Of it, you know
man.
What I mean?
And you get in your head about it too.
That's the thing too. That's what I've noticed. Just getting older. It's like you sort of got to hone that mental game a little more than like it may have been a little more effortless as a younger person.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like about that headspace, and that's what even my vocal coach Davin would tell me is like this: you get in your own head. You know what I mean? You get in your head. You stress yourself out. Your body reacts to that stress. Like you tighten up. You start overthinking parts. You know, that kind of thing. And next thing you know, you're on stage. And it's like you're a pitcher. It's like choking.
Yeah.
Even though you know what you're doing. And everyone knows you can do it.
Yeah.
But you're kind of just screwing yourself mentally.
It's crazy what your mind does, man.
It's so powerful. I watch my kids do like sports. My daughter's like a gymnast and now a cheerleader.
That's awesome.
And I remember The coaches always say like 80% of this game is like just mental. It's like they can have the body and the muscles and the whatever and the practice, but like they need that mental part. And I think that's so much of life is that mental, your ability to kind of hone in and do something and not be too distracted by the things around you.
Yeah, and that's really hard, especially with this generation, all on their phones and social media and all that stuff. It's just crazy, dude.
Yeah.
And we were talking earlier about doing puzzles. My wife does puzzles every day.
That's amazing.
Like, I'll shut my phone off completely at night. I'll veg out. I'll watch TV. I'll do something, but she's doing puzzles. Just like, just the attention span, all that stuff for kids. Totally, and just like.
She just gave me a puzzle to take with me when I leave here. Because we're in the studio right now. We did a Master of Puppets puzzle. We did a Kill 'Em All puzzle.
That's sick.
It's kind of rad. It's been like, it's real meditative, you know. It's like better than scrolling your phone and that kind of thing. Yeah, man. You know? But we're able to still like listen to mixes and like listen to things back.
But you were saying like if you're on your phone and somebody says, "Did you hear that?" They were like, "No," but if they're doing a puzzle, they actually heard it. It's interesting.
It's really funny. It started as a joke because we were just kind of sitting there, but now it's like I brought a puzzle last week and we finished it, and then I brought a puzzle the next week and they finished it even quicker. And now everyone's, when I show up now without a puzzle, everyone looks at me like, "Yo, where's the
you're the puzzle guy?
Where's the puzzle, dude? Like we already finished this. What's next?" It's like, oh shit.
One more thing about the singing thing is interesting, is that sometimes if you're hoarse when you talk, you singing and talking some kind of different, it comes from a different place. So like you could sound hoarse during the day and like, oh my God, I'm losing my voice. But then when you sing, it comes from, it's interesting, the two different voices. Do you know what I'm talking about?
That's absolutely true. The voice
should be hoarse all day. Like, oh my God, I'm not gonna play the show. And then you start singing, you coming from here. I forgot the word, and you just belting it out.
It's still something I don't totally understand. You know what I mean? But I'll do that. Like I'll have a day where I'm like hoarse talking, and then and so I'm kind of panicking. Like
totally. And then
what's gonna happen? But you start panicking. And so I try to take these mental notes of like doing like this is how you felt on Tuesday morning, but remember you had a good show that night.
Yes.
You know, so don't panic about it, you know, or whatever. Or sometimes you feel good and you have a bad show or whatever. It's like,
but once you start singing and like everything,
you got to get into it. You got to just like disconnect and just get into the song. And like, I think, and it's, for me, I mean, there's so much to it, but like, I tell people it's like about taking your foot off the gas a little bit.
Yeah.
I think as hardcore singers too, we kind of think like people value us for how hard we push the pedal. Yeah. That's why they value us. That's why we love our favorite
still going
singers.
Hard and still killing it on stage.
Yeah. That's why we love Minor Threat or Lou, or Lou from Sick of It All, because like looks like they're just going to.
Especially the older guys are still doing it. They're still, like Kevin Seconds, Keith Morris. Yeah. All going hard in their 60s, bro. It's so inspiring.
It's amazing. And like what I learned is that there's a way to take your foot off the gas a little bit and still have it sound like that. And if not, sound better, you know? Yeah. And that's something that I've had to teach myself as just like a kid who grew up in a hardcore scene. It's like, you don't need to go out there like super amped up trying to like blow your voice. You can actually take your foot off the gas a little bit, and actually you'll be cruising and no one's going to really notice it. And you're going to be able to people will be able to hear you and it'll be better.
You sound better. You feel better. Yeah. I know we talked about, we went for a nice hike yesterday, Runyon Canyon, and just like the empty nest syndrome, like your kids are getting older, and that's like a major fear I have. We're talking about how like kids in LA can't really live by themselves, and my son's 21. That's kind of the theme. Kids in LA live at home super long. I'm like, yes, but I moved out so quick. My mom kind of kicked me out at 17. I can't imagine like my son being out at 17. You know?
Yeah, it's a different world. So I got a sophomore in college right now. I don't know what life will look like for her, you know, post college or whatever. But it's definitely, you're seeing, I feel like you said, it's like there's more and more kids living at home after school than I think was our generation was. But you see why it's so expensive too, and so it's like I don't have a good answer for it.
Yeah, but we also talked. I mean, obviously you make your kids, you raise your kids, you don't own your kids, and then they go out into the world, and you do your best you can to instill all this love and compassion and everything into them, and raise them to be great, you know, law-abiding citizens. You know what I mean? And they go out there and they're on their own, and that's beautiful too, though. It is, and you always have that bond.
I was just having a conversation. A buddy called me late last night, and he was just talking about. He has like a 2-year-old, you know.
Oh yeah.
And he's just worried that he's not that he's not doing the right things, or how's he gonna do this, or he's not doing enough. You know what I mean? And I was like, you know, I just look back and I didn't know what to tell him, but I remember telling him just like, dude, you're a good dude. Yeah. Like your wife's a good person. You guys are good people. You're gonna raise a good kid. Yeah. You don't need to like worry about like every little micromanage. Like you can't
do that.
You got good instincts. And that's what's going to matter when this kid turns 18 and leaves your house or whatever, at
Absolutely.
whatever age, that's what they're going to take away. So like my daughter's away at school. Like I don't know what she did today. I don't know what she did last night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not sure, but I know that I raised her in a way that hopefully she made some smart decisions. She's like around people that care about her. She picked the right people that, like around her and stuff like that. And that's not anything that I like sat down and told her to do.
Yeah.
It wasn't a lesson one day that we had when she was 6. Totally. It was just her being under my roof for all those years.
Yeah.
And hopefully like, I raised like a well-rounded, like critical thinking, like woman who can, you know, make the right calls.
Yeah.
And she'll do some stupid shit too. I'm
course,
sure we all did.
Yeah,
you know?
100%.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting, like having that and then having that bond, and then we'll have that connection forever. And what are they up to today? Like,
right.
It's crazy, man.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Straight edge. You've been straight edge your whole life, or since you were a kid?
I mean, I was straight.
Did you party before then?
No, I think probably like in junior high, I did the thing where like you try to smoke, or you sample this shit.
Try to smoke a cigarette
from your friends. Yeah, do it from your friends, like liquor cabinet or whatever else. But I was straight edge before I knew what straight edge was. You know what I mean? Like I was just that friend in your group that like didn't drink. You know what I mean? So I was like, oh, that's Tim. He doesn't party. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I only learned what straight edge was like after that shit, when I learned about like Youth of Today and like Minor Threat.
Ian Mackay, our God.
And exactly. And I remember my first instinct was when I heard about straight edge bands was, even as a kid who didn't drink, I was like, that seems silly. That's like the thing we sing about. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like, I remember thinking like it was like,
this ain't punk.
Oh, I remember not that it wasn't punk, but I remember it just not feeling like a big enough part of like life or culture at the time that I thought, I can't believe people were actually like having bands that are themed around this. But I really hadn't yet lived in the world where being someone who doesn't partake in that makes you a bit of an outsider. Yeah. And I would learn later in life, like,
it's the most punkest thing almost, I think, man.
That was for me too. I was a little bit of like, what are you rebelling against? Like, what do you got kind of thing. You know what I mean? And so like, there was drinking and partying was far more conformist to me than it was rebelling.
100%.
Like, dude. I felt like it was being framed as like this rebellion, like we're gonna go sneak out and drink, but it's like, but you're actually just kind of conforming to like everything. Yeah. And not that I had any judgment for like people who were doing it, but as a kid who was obsessed with like going against the grain, this seemed to me the most obvious way to go against the grain. Was to just simply not do the things that were expected of me. That people expect me to do. Yeah. And then I started seeing that the world looked at me different for making those choices. And then I understood why a band like Minor Threat might sing about it, or why a band like Youth Today would like actually have a whole band that was kind of themed around it. Yeah. Because when the world looks at you differently, then you start to sort of look to find your tribe. Yeah. To find if someone can relate to this. And so that's kind of how I've walked through the world, is kind of just as like a nonconformist to like what I thought was a pretty mainstream idea. And I think I probably would be that whether there was something called straight edge or not.
I think so too, man. I was always afraid of it. Yeah.
It just didn't seem, and I don't know. People are sometimes like, that's cool that you have like that discipline or whatever. And I'm like, I don't think about it that way. Like,
me either.
I don't crave it.
It wasn't hard for me, man.
I'm not going through the day thinking, man, I really want to drink.
I should have tried that.
Yeah.
It's like, really true.
Discipline doesn't factor into it for me. It's like, I feel like if I've achieved some sort of balance, I'm not interested in disrupting that balance. Yeah. I mean, it's never, and then once I got into the band world too, obviously drinking and drugs is something that is celebrated in music culture.
100%.
It's not condemned. And if anything, it's like something that like we encourage our rock stars to do. Yeah. And that's how we give our rock stars credibility, is the bigger of a partier they are. So I feel like, as you know, and like that sends people down some shitty rabbit holes, you know, when they go through that. And so I felt like it strangely prepared me to become a guy who was going to be on a stage and like living in dressing rooms and being on tour and hitting low moments where if I did something to reach to, I probably would have reached for that. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it was never something I ever really considered.
But just facing everything your whole entire life, like just with a sober mind and like not trying to, I don't know, hide. I'm not saying that people that hide behind things, but just everything. We're sober our whole lives, just facing everything we've been through. Like there's no shielding, nothing. It's just this raw. We deal with it. Like it's not like, it's kind of crazy, man. You think about like, I'm 54, never tried anything. I never thought about trying anything. My brothers were getting wasted in front of me all the time. They were scaring me. They probably scared me straight. And now like having my son who's 21, never tried anything, and then surprised me on his 21st birthday and got a XXX tattoo by Dan Smith. I was like trying not to cry, just like watching my son get XXXs on him. It was. I sent a picture to Ian after that. It's just like, dude, that was just a moment. I was like, I never told my son to be straight edge. He's never had meat growing up. He's been raised that way.
Yeah.
He's 18. He's 21. He can do whatever he wants. And this is what he chose. Like that was like, that means that and I was never preaching in front of him. My wife isn't straight edge. I never preached anything like that. But he saw how I am, how I carry myself, how I've been my whole life, how I still have fun. I'm still high on life. I don't know. That was a beautiful moment. Like that my parenting, I felt was pretty awesome.
Like he got to see that like you didn't need it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that you still have a meaningful life. And so that's cool because I don't think people get that role model. I don't think you meet people who don't even consider it. Like, no, we're just going to drink. Everyone drinks.
Yeah, and Max has been the designated driver since he had his license for all his friends.
That's amazing.
Nobody is like him in his school. Nobody doesn't do that. And
that's pretty.
All the kids are juuling, doing all this stuff, and now it's just like.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just for me, it was the most rebellion punk thing I could do. Like, and same with like not eating animals as well. Like, I'm not going to go. Everybody's, the hamburger, the Big Mac, drink your beer, all that stuff, the American way, all like this, the culture and the stereotypes and traditions. Milk does the body good, just all that stuff growing up that my mom was fed and then fed to me, and I don't know, man. And then not doing that, not supporting that, like I feel like I live a pretty, I'm not perfect, but live a pretty guilt-free life. Like I don't wear any animals, I don't eat any animals, I don't support those companies. I don't know. It's interesting.
Totally. Yeah, it's interesting, and it also makes you walk through life looking at things a little bit differently. Through like a little bit of a different lens. And for me, like it was such a punk rock and hardcore thing.
Yeah, same.
To do because it made me question the world around me a little bit. Like, oh, I didn't think about this shit when I grew up, and like, nobody kind of told me that that we don't need meat. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Did you try drinking or you tried cigarettes and that was about it?
That was about it. Like I was never like drunk or anything like that.
When did you become like straight edge? How old were you probably?
I guess it would have been by the time I got to high school.
That's cool.
It was like someone who called me straight edge before I called myself straight edge. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, like you're straight edge or whatever. And I'm like, what is that? And so
that's cool.
And that's when I realized like, oh yeah, I guess I'm straight edge. And then straight edge.
It's a name for something I already am.
Totally.
Same. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then that was like mid 90s. So straight edge became like a big thing with like Earth Crisis and Strife and all those bands. And so I was that kid like X'd up, like, floor punching and jumping off of a stage.
I'd love to see that. That's amazing.
Dude, we go to all those shows.
And then the veganism comes in through them, probably that inspiration.
Yeah. And actually I'm only a vegetarian. I've been vegetarian for 30 years.
Nice.
The whole time. Though I feel like I'm mostly vegan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like most of the time. But like
it's easy now.
Never called myself one.
Yeah, that's cool.
And that was the way I walked through life. And so you walk through life a little bit of a nonconformist way.
Yeah.
It's interesting too, being straight edge too. I feel like people conflate it with like, oh, you were a good kid. It was like, no, we did stupid shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, if anything,
crazy straight edge kids. Yeah.
That's what I tell people. Just like I was a young kid with a lot of energy.
Same.
That I didn't, instead of channeling it into like, just like, where am I going to get beer tonight and whose basement are we going to go hide in? Like, you're actually doing that. You maybe you're better off because now we were out just driving around like vandalizing and like fucking doing stupid shit, and like we were
still having fun. Yeah,
we were sober kids with tons of energy.
Yeah,
that could be a scary thing to let loose through like a suburb of Chicago.
Yeah.
Like we were just misfits.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of fun. We weren't just kind of like nerds that weren't drinking. We were like, we did dumb things. We were just little vandals. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We were just little punks.
Yeah.
And we were just trying to like get away with shit. And
people think you don't drink and smoke. You have no fun. You're boring.
Right. Yeah. And we had I have very fond memories of like my adolescence. Like I had a bunch of good friends, a good crew, and we had a lot of fun.
Yeah. Do you have any major regrets in your life?
Ooh, my regrets involve like opportunities that like I didn't have the guts to like say yes to sometimes.
Yeah.
At the time.
Yeah.
Like and now that like we're this age too, like you meet people who are no longer with us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes you think like you have the whole world ahead of you.
Yeah.
I remember I met Chris Cornell years ago.
Yeah, you played a song with him, played Spoonman with him.
Dude, it was so
it's in my
cool.
notes.
Dude, it was so cool.
Thank you for reminding me of that.
It's one of the highlights.
Yo, that's crazy.
Of my life. Like were
you a big fan?
I was a big fan. So like I was buying Louder Than Love and like Bad Motorfinger. Like,
that's so funny.
Soundgarden was like an SST band, back in the
day.
They were,
Yeah.
And so I met him years later. It was in Australia.
After the Spoonman thing?
Yeah.
How did the Spoonman thing happen? How'd you come on stage and sing that?
All it was is we were on our way to Sydney. We were sitting in an airport. My manager, who was a woman named Missy Worth, was with us. She was friends with his manager. They were texting like, "Oh, I'm coming to Sydney. Oh, do you guys want to come see Chris Cornell solo?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'd love to." And the next thing was like, "Oh, Chris wants to know if Tim wants to come on stage and sing a song."
Come on, dude.
Dude, I'm sitting in the airport like, "Wait, what?" That's like.
And you picked the song. He picks it.
They picked it. They were like, they've been doing Spoonman. Does he want to sing Spoonman? I'm like, yeah, whatever you want to sing, I'll sing. So I got to meet him and like hang out. He was super nice. I actually just ran into his guitar player at the Hollywood Bowl last weekend. We were talking about it, and then he like gave me his info. We stayed in touch after that, which was like, holy shit, this is Chris Cornell. This is.
So you're texting Chris Cornell?
Yeah, like we were just like talking about shit. It was rad. And then we did it again in London. We had a day off in London. He's playing Shepherd's Bush. And I was like, "Yo, can we come to the show?" And he was like, "Yeah, like, do you want to come sing a song?" And I was like, "Yeah, but can I pick the song?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I did a Hunger Strike.
No way.
Yeah, so we did it again.
Temple of the Dog?
Yeah.
Oh my God, bro.
Such a cool moment. Just like be on stage like with him. I don't know if his fans cared about me at all, but I was like just loving
that. Song's one of my favorite songs, bro.
So amazing. He was like, would you
get emotional singing that with him?
Dude, for real. It was just like I wanted to like just find my like 15-year-old self and be like, dude, check this out.
I'm going hungry. Damn, bro, that's so cool.
I remember we were backstage, we were kind of rehearsing it, and he was like, "Wait, do you want to do Eddie's part, or do you want to do like, do you want to do my part?" And I'm like, "Dude, you're Chris Cornell. Who does your part? Like nobody can do your part. Of course, I'm going to do Eddie's part."
Yeah, dude, he's so.
So that was really cool, and then
that's amazing, dude.
But like I bring this up because you talk about regret, and he's at one point he sent me a message, and he was like, "Hey, if you ever want to like write songs sometime together." And I just remember like staring at that message, You're looking good, Mix.
Yeah, it's going to work. So he sent you a message to do
He's like, "Hey, if you ever want to like," because he'd done some co-writing with other people, other artists. I never thought of myself at that caliber of like someone that Chris Cornell would collaborate with, and I was like, I just stared at that message for the longest time. Like, I mean, because everyone in my body was like, "Well, yeah, of course, if I could sit down and play guitar with Chris Cornell, collaborate on a song with him," but it really was like the imposter syndrome in me that was kind of like, you can't write a song with Chris Cornell, bro. What are you doing?
Did it take a while to respond to that?
Yeah, I only responded in a way of like, I would love to do that sometime.
Yeah, but wasn't like let's book it.
What I should have done is let's book it now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I look back on that now, and I'm like, you should have booked that. You know what I mean? And I didn't. But I also kind of in my head I was like, I got all the time in the world, man.
I think we do. Yeah.
And like now, obviously that will never happen. You know what I mean? And it was like,
how many years before he passed was that message, you think?
Oh, at least a few.
Yeah.
I would see him a couple more times after that.
His voice is incredible, man.
Yeah.
Bro.
I got to sing at the Chris Cornell, the tribute show they did at the Forum.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's sick.
Because they were doing Audio Slave stuff. And they invited me out, and that was
cool,
definitely
man.
like a moment, and it was pretty rad. But so that's my regret lesson. Like, man, there's something you want to do. Because the only thing that stopped me was pure nervousness. It wasn't that I didn't want to do it. It wasn't that I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But it was like just pure like, I don't belong in that room. You know what I mean?
Wow, man.
Yeah. It's crazy.
But you had those 2 moments with him that were like incredible, man.
I'll always have that, and that's
Hunger Strike. What, dude?
Just to be honest, like it's one thing to like shake the hands with like a hero of yours, but to actually sing a song and have him like kind of validate,
like on stage with him, and
kind of validate what you do, because like I feel like we're all sort of like a bit of, if you're an artist, you're a sum of your influences in some way, shape, or form.
Yep.
And I feel like some of what he like inadvertently taught me by me listening to so much Soundgarden is in me as an artist, and so I would love to think that like when he heard me do stuff, it was like he was like, "Oh, that's cool," and it's like it's cool because you might recognize that as like a kid who's influenced by you. Yeah, So that was.
And you had to play cool head in those moments too. You weren't like, "Oh my," like you was like
trying to play cool. Yeah, I saw him in Chicago like years later when they were touring with 9 Inch Nails, and he was always so gracious and so cool, and just not. Like,
is he pretty tall too?
So tall, so
crazy eyes,
super good looking dude. I mean, he's what you think of as a rock star.
I know,
but he was always so chill too.
That was so sad. That was like, dude,
he was the most mellow dude. I was friends with him, and I was like friends. We were like just like, and then like I knew Chester too, and they were both just such chill.
Oh, Chester,
just such chill people. Like I feel like you meet people on the road sometimes, and they seem like tortured souls. Yeah, you can just like, this guy seems like a tortured soul, and then you meet some people that are just light as air. And you're just like, man, you just bounce into the world. You just seem like, and those 2 guys seem like they were light as air. They did not seem like tortured souls, And so that's why it was like such a huge like shocker. And I've sang on stage with Chester too before.
Wow,
too.
with them. Wow.
Yeah. So
Linkin Park songs?
Yeah, we did Linkin Park songs together.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What song? You remember what songs?
I bleed it out, dig it deep.
Like hard, dude. Yeah. I love Linkin Park, man.
Yeah, they took us on tour.
Talented, dude.
We had a month-long tour book with them. It lasted 3 days before Chester broke his ankle, and they canceled the whole tour.
Really?
Yeah. But I sang with them one of those nights, and then maybe like a K-Rock show or something like that. You know,
that's pretty crazy, man.
Yeah, he was always super, super nice. All those guys, you know, were super, super nice. But those were cool moments.
Those are amazing moments.
Those moments, and then the time I got to meet Ian MacKaye, like at the Discord house, and go to see the Discord house. Ian MacKaye. All right.
Get it wrong.
All right.
Yeah, that was a cool story. You went there with somebody, brought you there, right?
Brian Baker. We were on tour with Bad Religion.
Okay, yeah, let's go. This is a good story.
So Brian pulls up his car. I'm like, I'm rolling in the back. I'm in the back hatch of his Subaru, like no seat, right? Just like rolled back there, and we go to the Discord house, and Ian was there, and he was also just, you know, we were talking about earlier, but Ian's my everything.
Same.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like Fugazi, Minor Threat, you know, Embrace, Skewbald, all of it. You know what I mean? Just
Palehead,
Palehead.
Bro, that was crazy. Ministry, dude.
I love Palehead.
Ahead of his time, dude.
Palehead hit me hard because I liked industrial out of Chicago too.
Chicago, dude.
And so when like Ministry and Ian was like, I was like, wait, this is the best thing ever.
The most oddest combination, but it worked.
Yeah, totally.
So good.
I know. One day I want to tell Al Jurgensen, I'll be your Palehead singer if you ever want to go out and do some shows. Like, let me do your thing. I know all the words.
I Will Refuse, all that.
Oh, dude, such good songs.
So what year is this you went to Discord? What year?
Oh, I don't even remember. Maybe like 10 years ago, maybe a little longer or whatever. But it was a cool way to meet him.
You going to Discord with Brian Baker? Come on,
to have like that intro and have Brian be like, these guys are cool, you know, like that was pretty awesome. And he kind of showed us around. We took a picture on the front porch.
But tell him when he got there, when you guys first got there.
Oh yeah, he had just watched one of our videos. It was for re-education through labor, and in that video we kind of like we have these moped kids like rolling around like blowing up a city. So it was like pretty edgy. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And he comes to the front door. He's got like this screwed up look on his face. He's looking at us. He's like, "Rise Against." And we're like, "Hey, yeah." He's like, "I just watched your video. You guys are hardcore."
Sounds like him too.
What? I was like,
that's
Ian
great.
just called us hardcore. That's amazing,
dude.
So it was cool just to like be on his radar. I would love to like just hang out with that dude like more because I feel like there's, you know, so much of him is in me as an influence. And that's funny because I'm a big enough Ian fan to know that he doesn't want you to be a fan of his.
Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah.
Like I worship.
We should go there one time together. That'd be cool.
That'd be awesome. Like I worship Ian enough to know that he condemns worship culture. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't want you, like he would be like, don't start a band that sounds like Minor Threat. Start your own band.
100%.
Don't do what I did. Do your own thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's kind of like, I do think about that. Like even with like Rise Against, you know, like I think like I came from a punk rock and hardcore scene. And if someone wants to look at my band and try to analyze it through a punk rock and hardcore lens, they might find that our songs don't fall into the hardcore punk rock lens, you know? Mm-hmm. But I always think about shit like we weren't supposed to walk in the same exact footsteps as the guys that came before us.
No, not at all,
you know
man.
I mean? We're supposed to
it's not just a sound, dude. It's a spirit. It's everything.
Like a feeling.
It is, dude. It's ethics. It's how we live our lives. It's everything. How we carry ourselves.
Totally.
Our beliefs. It's a young spirit we have inside of us. It's not because we could be like, I hate gatekeepers. I hate all that stuff, dude. Like all the new hardcore you were talking about at Runyon Kane. There's so many incredible young bands now killing it, dude. It's so beautiful to see. You know?
Yeah. They don't have the rules that maybe we had. You know, they don't have like the punk rock police that kind of like hovered over everybody. And so
like you can have some pop in your song. You can have other styles of music, and nobody even blinks an eye at it. Before you have to have a side band or something, but now it's bands. Right. There's so many different influences, and even just talking about like 7 Seconds, Rock Together, and people were fighting during that song. During the skinheads were beating up people during that song when they were playing it. Right. But now I feel like that message has finally made it now, and it's so diverse. There's so much diversity and unity, and people standing up for things, and young bands, and putting on shows, and women and transes, all kinds of people in hardcore. It's freaking beautiful, dude.
It's pretty amazing. It's incredible. And like you said, it's about a feeling. I want people to feel the same way I felt when I heard Fugazi. I want them to feel like that. And like, so what do I got to do to make them feel like that? Yeah.
So you're checking out new bands too, right?
Yeah. I love that news. I love like all the whole new like Gel, Scowl, Incendiary. Like I love all those bands.
Ben Knock Loose is killing it right now.
Loose, yeah.
I just saw footage of them playing yesterday in Vegas, and Zulu playing yesterday, and Trash Talk, and
it's cool, man. I think hardcore's in a good place, and punk's in a good place.
I feel like coming out of the pandemic, it's like bigger than ever. It's really interesting, man.
Yeah.
A lot of people started bands during the pandemic.
Yeah, and I hope it can get bigger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think punk and hardcore is really good at creating like pretty successful bands for a handful of years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I want them to sell out big ass places. I want them to like be on the radio. I want them to like headline festivals. I want it to take it to the next level and the next step. That like I think those bands could. I
mean, Drain, it's like they're not really on the radio. They're an Epitaph now. Like they're playing massive venues. They're killing it, dude. Yeah. They're so killing it, dude. Yeah. They just jumped on a couple shows at Blink right now, and like
that's cool.
But they're like on another level, man. They're really great kids. They like great live show and just like
I love that.
Are you an optimist or pessimist?
Ooh, I'd like to think I'm an optimist.
Okay. Most of the time?
Yeah, most of the time. I'm an optimist. I'm a bit of like a realist, I guess.
A realist, yeah. My wife says she's a realist too.
Yeah. Like I'm kind of like,
You've always been like that?
I think so. I'm the kind of the guy like slowing everybody down and be like, whoa, let's think about this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's kind of like the band we've been like a slow and steady band. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe that's hurt us sometimes. Maybe like we need to like jump out and take some more risks.
Do you stress a lot or worry about stuff with the band a lot?
Well, we're writing a record, so
yeah.
Put
a lot of pressure on yourself.
Right now,
put a lot of pressure on yourself.
Yeah, I put a lot of pressure on myself because especially with every record, our band builds up like our legacy.
Yeah.
And, like who we are. And it's like, you know, we're talking about like being on stage singing, like you can overthink shit, you know? And so it's trying to find that place where you're not overthinking it, you're just writing stuff. But I want to write stuff that I'm proud of. I want to write stuff that honors like who we are as a band, but I also like want to, you know, push the boundary when we need to push the boundary. But records are the most stressful time because they're just such a permanent document of what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I take a lot of pride in what we do as a band and my contributions to it. And a lot of it falls on my shoulders, you know, and I don't want to let my guys down either, you know, because...
Which you haven't done yet, so you.
Thank you. I'm sure there's some message board disagrees with you, but like, I don't feel like I feel like I'm proud about everything that has the name Rise Against on it.
Yeah,
you know, and so I want to keep that going, you know, and so.
But also writing new topics like 10 albums deep, and you're in a different space and where you're at in your life and all that, and just trying to write about things that you want to sing about that new generations can relate to, or the older fans, all that, right? Just all that.
Yeah, it's kind of like figuring out who you are, how you want to contribute to the conversation, instead of just regurgitate the conversation.
Yeah,
where you can have the most weight, you know, in someone's impression of like who you are.
Yeah.
What our strengths are, what we haven't done yet, what scratches have we not yet itched, you know, like those kind of things. Those are all things that go into like
new producer working with all that stuff.
New producer, like we're working with a producer named Catherine Marks right now, and she's great. All these things, and then there's all those things, and then there's like you think about all of them, and you pile them up in your head, and then you push them all aside, and you pick up a guitar, and you just play what makes you feel good.
It's true.
At the end of the day. And you stop talking about it,
and stressing about it,
you stop strategizing, and you stop thinking about what someone's going to think of it or whatever, and you just play what sounds good to you right now.
And you like that with every record? You always get in your head and like...
Yeah, I'll get in my head for sure. Like, I'll just kind of overthink it, you know, and...
Your worst critic?
Worst critic, you know, and I'm like doing records with Bill. Like I'm there to impress Bill. You know what I mean? Like
I think he's already impressed though. Come on.
I mean, I think he is at the end of the day. But you know, I want to make sure he's impressed. Like he's a guy that I want him to like what I'm doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a good person to have as a producer versus someone that you maybe don't care about. You know?
Yeah.
Maybe someone doesn't get it. You know?
Yeah.
Like Bill's the kind of guy who like, if I have like maybe like 15 lines in a song, you know what I mean? And I wrote maybe like 13 of them I wrote, you know, like, and I feel really good about, but I had two bars missing. And so I was hitting a deadline. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to write these 2 lines, and I don't feel great about them.
Yeah.
But no one will be able to tell in the 15 lines where the 2 are, you know what I mean? Bill can tell.
Wow.
Yeah. I'll be singing a whole song. I'll go through it, and I'll have 2 lines that I have questions about. But I'm not going to put those questions in Bill's head because I really just want to finish. I want to finish the song.
Yeah. I
have 2 points in the song that I feel like might be weak points, but like, I'm like, but the rest of the song is so good and you need to finish it. And then I'll finish the song, and then he'll be like, "Oh, Tim,
wow.
what are you saying in this second verse? And I was like, screw you, Bill. Like, you found me out. Like, he can.
Wow, that's kind of cool though.
He
can
like identify when I've written something that like makes sense and is cohesive and it's part of the song, and then he can identify the part where it's like, you could do better. Yeah, I know you can do better. I know you kind of phoned in these lines, and like
but that's what you want, though, right?
Dude, it's so.
That's what a producer's supposed to be. Yeah,
it's like scary when I get in there because I'm just like, is this good enough? Like, you know what I mean? And for the most part, it is, or by the time we get through it, it's good enough. You know what I mean? But we hammer it out together.
But then a different producer may not notice that.
Most producers won't. They're like, they won't even be able to tell you what the line is. But Bill, he wants to know like what the song is, like how I'm feeling about it. And that way, because if he knows more about like my context, he knows what lines might not make sense in that context. You switched from I to you right here or whatever. It's like, or this imagery doesn't make sense. What are you trying to say there? And he's so. I think that's what makes a songwriter too, is when you can identify like their DNA and like the lyrics and that kind of thing. Right there. I remember we did after Tony Sly passed away from No Use for a Name. Yeah. We did a song called For Fiona. Or we covered a No Use song called For Fiona. Okay. Saddest song. It's about his daughter. It's like, it's for his daughter. It's for Fiona. Right. Okay. Which I thought was the saddest song. And I don't know what I was thinking covering it, because it was like just so sad to play it. Yeah. But we were Bill knew Tony really well. I knew Tony like in passing. We did our first Japanese tour with No Use. They took us, again, the Fat Family. Yeah. And we were going through the lyrics, and so we had pulled the lyrics off like the internet or whatever, And Tony's a really great songwriter, and his songwriter is very classic. It's like it's just like every single word makes sense, and it's in the right exact place. It's almost like the Beach Boys. You know what I mean? It's it's this effortless like classic songwriting. And he had one sentence, and then we had the thing printed out on the internet that he was saying, and he goes, I wouldn't give it up for nothing free. And every single sentence in the whole thing made total sense. But then the line, I wouldn't get it up for nothing free, both struck me and Bill as like red flag. We're like, what? That doesn't seem to make sense. But I guess you could give an artist some leeway here and they can just say whatever. But we're like, that's not Tony. He wouldn't say something unless it was totally direct, And we sat there thinking about like, what the hell is this line? Not thinking about like the fact the internet might be wrong. You know what I mean? Yeah. And we're like, I want to give her nothing free. And I remember Bill starts going, so my daughter's name is Blythe. Okay. But we just call her B.
It's a cool name.
Yeah, thanks. And then Bill's in the control room and I'm in the vocal booth, and he's going, and we're thinking we're in silence for a long time. Like, what are we gonna do here? And then Bill goes, B, Blythe. B, Blythe. And I was like, what? He goes, B, Blythe. I'm like, well, yeah, what are we talking about? He goes, B, Blythe. And I was like, yeah. He goes, Fiona. He's like, it's not free. He's not saying free. He's saying fee. And it was just like,
that's cool.
Right? Wow. So it's one of those things where it's like, wow. Tony was such a good songwriter that you knew. If we didn't know Tony, we didn't know how good of a songwriter he was. I may have just sang the wrong fucking word on his song. I would have just sang the reading off the sheet. Yeah. I wouldn't get him for nothing free, which maybe makes sense in some world, but because Bill knew Tony and we knew his songwriting, we were like, this has to be wrong. And then Bill cracked the code. It was like, dude, he's saying fee. I was like, oh, right. He's saying,
damn, that's amazing.
It was pretty amazing. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're an optimist then?
Yeah, you got.
You're a realist.
I think I am. I think I do. But to answer your question,
you don't seem like a negative person.
I see an overwhelming good in the world. You know what I mean? Like I think, and so to go back to Ian MacKay. Ian MacKay.
3 strikes.
As a guy who gets his last name butchered all the time, I should be more sensitive.
Yeah, that's true. Actually,
I should be way more sensitive to this. All right, I'm at 2 strikes. He had a great interview where he was like, somebody was giving crap to like the hardcore scene or like being violent or whatever. And he had a great analogy because he's so good at analogies. And he was just like, incredible. That's all he does. And he was like, if you go to a party and there's 50 people there and 48 of them are having an amazing time, just the night of their life, and 2 of them get in a fist fight. The next morning, what are people talking about? No one's talking about the 48 people that are having a great time.
Great point, dude.
Like, we're talking about the fist fight. You know what I mean? That's the story that everyone hears about that part. Oh, you were at the party with the fist fight?
Yeah.
Well, I was like also at the party where like I met this amazing person, and then when these people be like, we're awesome, and we like started a band, or we had the best pizza of our lives, you know what I mean? Whatever it was, you know what I mean?
Great point.
But there was a fist fight, you know, and that's all we talk about. And I feel like we live in a world where we, you know, the fist fights get the headlines, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there are absolutely some things that we should be concerned about. You know, I play in a band that engages in those things, but people are good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the planet is like full of people who care.
Yeah.
And who share
a lot more than we think.
Who share a lot of the same values no matter what side of the fence you're on.
Yeah.
Who care about like the future and their families and their friends and like the well-being of the world around them. So in that sense, I think I am like an optimist.
Yeah. And we were talking about this yesterday too, with social media and the troll culture.
Yeah.
Just like, you know, I think social media magnifies everything, makes it way worse than it really is, especially the past 4 or 5 years. And the world is fucked up. There's all kinds of crazy things happening in it, but there's a lot of good out there too, and people trying to do good. But the social media thing, are you on there that much? Are you checking your messages, check your DMs?
So I didn't do social media until COVID.
Yeah.
And that was when I finally signed up.
That's a long time. It's sick.
Yeah, I didn't do it at all. I was like, I kind of regret doing it sometimes. But
are your kids on there, obviously?
Kids are on there, you know, and all that. You know, I enjoy not being on it for a long time.
A long time, right? Wow.
But I also, I'm really bad about like meeting people and like getting their phone number.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So like I meet cool people, you know, I meet people like you.
Yeah.
But then we walk away from each other, and it's like, I'll see you again in a year or whatever.
Totally.
And so I felt like social media was a great way to be like, oh, you know, I meet cool people, and I forget to like be like, yo, I'd like to like hang out or let's collaborate on something. And so
that's cool to do that.
So like Instagram and that kind of thing was a fun way to kind of find people that I would come across in passing. I love taking pictures of photography, so that was a great way to like I'd be like on tour taking pictures and sending them to my family, like my girls, and they'd be like, Dad, you should post this stuff. You should have a profile. The
picture you took of me is sick.
Oh yeah,
the whole city in the background yesterday. That was a good picture.
Oh yeah,
that's cool. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. Totally, yeah. That was amazing. That was just an epic view.
I know.
You were king of the castle right there. It was like someone had to document that.
Photos,
yeah. Like so, I was like, okay, this is a good place to put all this stuff too. And then I don't really check the messages and the comments. I try to stay away from all that.
Okay,
but not because I think like it's almost just as dangerous or toxic to listen to 100 people tell you that you're terrible as it is to listen to 100 people tell you that you're the best thing on the planet.
I think so too, man.
You know what I mean? Like I don't need that inflated sense of like ego. Like, I think it's just as artificial in a way.
Yeah.
Not to take away someone's opinion. If you love our band, I think that's great. You know what I mean?
Totally.
But like it's just as dangerous to fill someone's head with all of this, you know, and make them believe that they're just a god among men. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is how I feel about Ian MacKaye.
Yeah.
I got it right.
Good job. Third time killed it.
But I know that like if you
he wouldn't like that either.
He wouldn't like that, and if you walk around just hearing that all the time, like I think it kind of can screw you up a little bit too.
Yeah.
So I'd rather just put stuff out in the world that people can enjoy or not enjoy, which is their right to not enjoy. And
I want to get to know you, listen to your band, your lyrics, and all that stuff.
And then a lot of the internet is like, you know, it's like when you hear about the guy going into the sports bar to pick a fight with the NFL star. You know what I mean? Just to see if he can get the NFL star to punch him or whatever, and now it's going to be a lawsuit and a great story.
And the film it to go viral and stuff like that?
Exactly, yeah. That's a lot of the internet.
Yeah.
It's like someone's trying to bait you into like this thing, you know. And
Good point.
Like I'm not going to sink to that level, man. You know what I mean? Like I don't, like I'm comfortable with who I am, with my 24 years of this band.
Yeah.
You know how I feel about things. I've made it pretty clear about in my songs, my lyrics. They speak for themselves. I don't like being told what to do. You know what I mean? Or told what to say, if you can imagine that. You know what I mean? Like I came in a punk hardcore scene, like we didn't like being told what to do or what to say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I've sort of been doing this for this many years. You accept that what you do, you're going to put it out in the world. People are going to accept it or reject it.
Yeah.
It's not for you to really decide. It's like a comedian doesn't get mad at the audience if they don't laugh. You know what I mean?
It's true.
They go back and they work on the joke or whatever.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
that's
like
a good point.
I try to do things that connect with people, and when it's connecting, then it's cool. And if it doesn't connect with you, then I got to work harder. You know?
Yeah.
So
I love that.
Yeah.
What about daily rituals for you? You're not a coffee guy. We know that yesterday.
I'm a tea guy.
You're a tea guy.
Yeah. I do caffeine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like it's in, but I don't mainline it through coffee. You know what I mean?
Like the rest of our band.
The rest of my band, yeah.
So you're a tea guy. You work out, you run.
I work out. I'm a big cyclist. Like I like mountain biking, I like road biking, and like gravel biking, and that's what I do on tour every day. Is like get off the bus and like. You
were telling me that you guys brought like little. What would you bring?
That was back in the day on the Warped Tour.
Vespas.
Yeah, we brought Vespas and like
that's crazy,
Vespa type
dude.
scooters on Warped Tour, because Warped Tour.
You get stuck in these fields.
You're trapped in a parking lot outside of Kansas City, and like you're all you want to do is go to this like just a gas station.
You know what I mean? Something different.
You're only eating what they feed you. You're only drinking what they have. You don't see civilization unless you wake up at 3 in the morning, the truck stop. Yeah, all that stuff. And so we used to bring scooters, but now I have a bike on tour. That's my sanity. That's my zen.
Cool.
That's like my way. Like you said, as a vocalist, it's good to like wake up and not talk too much.
Yep.
So I get up in the morning, I listen to music. It's the way I see your city. I get to ride around it a little bit.
That's cool, man.
And I might stop and like hang out, and I come back like a whole different person. I'm just a happy camper, because tour is like a lot of hurry up and wait. You're sitting around.
Yeah, dude.
You got to find something.
Those 23 hours, man.
Dude, you got to find something to like, do, or you'll just kind of go nuts, or you get on people's nerves, they'll get on your nerves. You know what I mean? All that,
People want their space.
Yeah, people want their space.
People have their habits they have in the morning. They do their thing.
Yeah, like vans are small, tour buses are small, dressing rooms are small, all that shit. So like I like biking around, and I get to bike around the planet, which is really rad. Like those are some of my best memories, is just being on a bike. Like
that's cool.
In these towns, like before sound check or whatever.
Did you used to run in cities too when you're running?
Yeah, I'm running. Like I'm like getting back into running because I kind of hurt my ankle. But like I'm getting back into it. I don't like running, but I run.
We talked about either. It's a love-hate thing.
I got to make myself run.
After like the first mile, I get warmed up. I feel great. If I can keep going, then you feel so great after the natural high.
Totally.
But just getting going it's a real love-hate thing for me, man, too. But I love how I feel after, dude.
Yeah, that's how I look at it. Because I'm like running 3 miles mostly. I'm not doing anything crazy. Like my wife can do like a half marathon.
Oh yeah, she's done that. Like, that's sick.
She's sort of like.
Would you ever do that, a marathon?
Oh man, that would require so much training. I feel
you went back to school. You did that, bro.
It's true. Yeah, I mean, maybe.
That's mental.
I won't say no, but like I feel like what I look like at the end of 3 miles is what people look like at the end of marathons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I do it, and I like doing it in like different cities. Like I get to
that's cool.
You
man.
Get to run around and see the place, and like kind of take it in. Running is a slow way to take in a place,
Yeah.
So those are my rituals. I like to be outside. I like mountain biking.
And when you're off tour too, you try to do the same thing.
Yeah. So that's kind of my zen. Like where I find like fun is just be on a bike or just
meditation.
Cruising around. I keep saying I'm gonna get into meditation.
Me too. I never did either. My wife does it. She loves it.
I have every intention to get into, especially just as like it comes back to like singing and being in the right mental headspace.
Yeah.
To walk onto a stage, like sometimes I'm not there, and everyone tells me like, well, if you meditate, it's easier to get there, and so that's something I think is in my future for sure.
Yeah, meditating, working out, eating good, staying hydrated.
Yeah.
Do you read books?
Yeah, I read like
a lot.
I wouldn't say a lot, but like I try to. I always got something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then mental and physical. Do you believe in therapy?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think that's a good thing. It's only a good thing. You know what I mean? Like
have you tried it before?
Yeah.
Me too.
I've met with a therapist, and I think it's like back in the day, in order to organize my thoughts, I needed to journal.
Yeah,
you know
that's right. Yeah,
and it was a great way to like just put down how I was feeling.
Yeah.
I think like therapy is like the same kind of thing. It's like it's like a way to kind of organize like your thoughts and have somebody else kind of like scan you and be like, oh, here's what's stressing you out. What are you going through?
It's so important. The mental and the physical is so important, man.
Yeah, totally. I think music is my therapy. Like
same, me too.
Writing songs, going on stage every night. You know what I mean? Because I think like I'll meet people and they're like, oh, dude, like you seem like you're kind of like on stage you're different than you are off stage, And it's like, well, if you got to scream every night for an hour and a half, you'd probably be a pretty chill person.
Yeah, it's actually really true. Actually,
I get to get everything out of me.
Same, but there's something interesting with just talking to a stranger in a room too. Because when I started going to therapy, I was like, I wrote all these songs about my dad. I do the same thing you just talked about. Then when you get in a room, he's talking to somebody who doesn't know anything about you. It's really interesting too. Just talking to like a wall almost, like, and just getting everything out. It's not your wife, it's not your friend, and just it's interesting.
Yeah, especially as like doing what we do. It's like it's a little different.
Also,
this has got to be like therapy for a lot of your guests, I imagine.
100%, dude. It's therapy for me.
And for you,
It is talking to you and getting to know you. I love all this stuff. Yeah. We got to give a shout out to Nicky Raygun.
Oh, yeah.
Trio, Effigies, Peg Boy.
Peg Boy.
Dude.
Peg Boy was my jam.
Bro.
Is my jam.
dude, incredible band, dude. That was
best songwriters in Chicago. Pegboy, right there.
Touche. What's the name of that record? I forget the record, man. It's the perfect record.
Strong Reaction. And
oh my god, man. That's how my soul, bro. So dude, all that stuff, dude.
That's why I loved the Sick of All Guys when I found out they loved Pegboy too.
Yeah,
they loved Pegboy, and I was like, oh, cool.
But Nikki Reagan too. That's my wife's
Reagan,
favorite band in the whole world. Dude. She has like every.
Well, she was probably there when they were playing still.
Oh yeah, dude.
Reagan was a little before my time.
Yeah. Trio, Ski-Bro, all that, dude.
Yeah, the Trio guys. I mean, the Fall Out Boy guys are Chicago.
That's right.
Yeah.
Chicago's got Smashing Pumpkins.
Absolutely.
Damn, I love the Pumpkins, bro.
Yeah, we had the Pumpkins and like Liz Phair was Chicago back in the day. Like it's a Wilco town.
Okay, yeah.
Like
CM Punk.
Huh?
CM Punk.
Oh yeah. He's a straight edge kid, right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Totally.
So new album number 10.
Yeah.
It won't come out till next year, probably.
Yeah.
But some songs out this year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's the plan. Going back on the road.
10 albums, 20 years. 24 years?
Yeah, first one came out in 01. So
I have 6 albums out, bro. My band's 30 years old.
Dude, you don't need 10 albums.
We're such a lazy.
You got 6 good records. You don't need 10 albums.
But it's like we're like not a working band.
It's not a race.
No, I know, but when I see that, it's just dude, you guys put in work and like. But you also tour way more than we tour, and like it's interesting though with bands like the kind of work they put out and just.
This may be our longest gap between albums. I think this.
It is.
I think, but COVID and all that stuff too.
So wasn't it 2022 though? The last one.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I mean according to the interwebs.
Yeah, maybe it was then.
The part 2. Yeah, that was like
That wasn't that long ago, huh?
Damn, but yeah, that's still. I mean, we do 7 years, and now our last record came out in 2015. Now it's like 9 years, so it's like, dude, I want to do a record with my son on drums, maybe like a 7-inch this year or something. Yeah. Something cool for our 30th anniversary.
That'd be cool.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. That would be amazing.
Do you have any collabs?
Is it 30th anniversary coming up?
Right now it is.
Right now, dude.
Yeah.
30 years. That's amazing.
That's 94, dude. It's crazy.
That's amazing.
It's crazy still, like, I don't know, just feeling good on stage at my age and just, I still love those lyrics. I still live these lyrics that we wrote that many years ago. I love hardcore. I love being on stage. I love doing this. I'm very blessed to do what I love, and we both are, and just like. Totally. Just like make songs and like. Yeah, and you guys are killing it, and it means something different to you every year, I'm sure. Yeah. And it's your connection to like, like the world around you, your friends in every city. Yeah. That's what I missed during COVID was like, I realized, like my community is like spread out through the globe. Yeah, man. And that's how I connect with them is when I show up to their town every couple of years. That was a crazy time, man. Yeah. I feel like social media really connected people in a positive way. Like you could see everybody going through the same thing around the whole entire world. That was the one positive thing I think during the lockdown and all that stuff. But not knowing when we're going to play again was stressful at first. And that was just fine. I'm like, I'm not going to stress about things I have no control over. Yeah. Music will happen someday. Right. Like I had a great run. Like started thinking all that crazy stuff where we like just sitting at home was wild, dude. It was wild, yeah. Because music's so important and it's so powerful and it's so healing. Mm-hmm. I know it's like the bottom of the totem pole of what could happen during that time. I'm like, but that's why I think music's thriving right now. The show is crushing. Everything's crushing. Yeah, because we had to imagine a world where it might not ever come back. Yeah. Which was something that we never had to imagine. It's horrifying, bro. We never had to imagine that before. And so as artists, we were like, whoa, are we ever going to do that ever again? And it wasn't essential. That's right. Everything was I feel like music is essential, though. It was so important, Yeah. Yeah, and as listeners, we were like, is this ever going to come back? And so when it came back, all of a sudden you didn't like... Not that we ever took it for granted, but like you appreciated it a little more. Yeah, and I didn't take it for granted, but I also felt like maybe I did. Well, I'm just like, wow, I'm home. And then also your wife and like being in your house with your whole family and not first time being home in 20 years, like not playing festivals during the summer. My wife's got us all in different rooms, not trying to kill each other and get in each other's way. Right. All that was a true test too, man. Absolutely. Yeah. Your marriage, man. You made it through that. You got to, right. Good. Yeah, absolutely. Also, last thing I was going to say, your eyes. And your eyes are amazing. Oh. There's a name for that. Like it said it somewhere but like it just your eyes as being born with eyes like that's awesome. Yeah, I didn't do anything to get these eyes. But. Yeah, the normal eyes you can see they work normally. They're just different colors. Yeah. I think. But what's the name for that? Is there a name for that? Heterochromia. That's it. Which I figured out. I don't want to try to pronounce it on the podcast. Yeah, which I figured out much later. But yeah, I just tell if like people ask, I have 2 different colored eyes. But it was. But that's just the name for it. It's just. Yeah, I don't have a good explanation for it. Yeah. No one else has ever given me a good explanation for it. My parents said that I was born with blue eyes. I think a lot of kids are. And then
it was like 6 months in, one of them was changing.
Wow.
And my mom will always say she I was the third kid, so she would always say like that it took somebody else to tell her it was different colors. Like someone was like, hey, your kid's got a brown eye, you know what I mean? Whatever.
She knows, yeah.
It was starting to change, and I think by the time I was like a year old, one was blue and one was brown, and then the only thing that anybody ever said that made any iota of sense, this could be wrong too, was that 2 different colored eyes could just be like a total like just natural kind of like gene thing, but it also can be one of those things that comes from a traumatic event.
Wow.
The same way like people get a white streak in their hair, you know, if something serious happens.
Yes. I think Rollins has a gray in his back.
Oh, really?
Don't quote me. Supposedly Rollins, something happened. He had a gray circle before he went full gray. He had a gray dot back there. It was interesting.
That's crazy. Yeah. So someone said that different colored eyes could be kind of like fall in that same category.
Wow.
But it was the time I was a baby to a year, and the only thing I had in that time was like, I guess I don't remember this, but I had really severe ear infections.
Okay.
You know, and like tubes put in my ear and all that whole thing. So I guess if that's something that was traumatic enough to my body physically, then maybe it reacted in a certain way. Otherwise, it could just be like just a gene thing, and it's just like every once in a while it happens. What's cool about doing this band is after like the band got bigger, I started meeting more people.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Because I had never seen somebody with 2 different colored eyes until I started meeting them. Like they would come find me like at the merch booth or whatever, and be like, "Yo, check it out." Or,
that is so cool.
And now with the internet, you find it out.
Like my favorite band, the singer has eyes like me. That's so cool, man.
Yeah, so it's kind of it's a funny way to go through the world. Most people don't notice at all.
Yeah.
They're not like totally stark. Some people are just eye people. You know what I mean? Or if like
eye people.
So they just kind of like, oh my god, your eyes.
It's awesome.
Or
dude.
if like I'm outside and like the sun's shining, that's kind of like when your pupils shrink.
Oh yeah.
And your eye color comes out. You know.
It's unique.
Then that's when people are like, "Holy shit! Look at you!" Like that guy at the coffee shop the other day.
Yeah, our friend Tito was saying, "Dude, your eyes."
Yeah, we were like in the sun, and I always know, like when we're in the sun, like the light's hitting you, I know like my eyes are brighter, which may not be alarming if you have 2 of the same colored eyes.
Yeah.
But when your eyes get more colorful and you have 1 of each.
Were kids cool about that growing up?
Yeah. I don't remember anybody
tripping on it.
Everyone thought it was cool.
It's so cool.
So like when I think. People were like, "Oh, you must have gotten teased or whatever." Like, no, I don't. I remember people just thinking it was kind of cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah.
It was cool. Like girls.
I've only seen dogs.
Cool.
Like dogs have that a lot
too.
Yeah,
dogs have it a lot. Yeah. Totally.
So you've met some people throughout your lives that have the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Just a handful. It's pretty.
How common it is?
It's pretty rare.
Okay, it's rare.
There's a couple famous actors like Dan Aykroyd's got like actually a different colored eye.
Oh wow.
But it's also like. Everyone's got a different version of it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
There's that baseball pitcher, Max Scherzer. I want to say his is stark, like it's so noticeable from like a mile away.
Yeah.
And then like Dan Aykroyd's, like you could barely tell.
Yeah.
You know. And then there's a couple.
Yeah, I never knew he had that either.
There's a couple of famous people. I feel like. I mean, Bowie, obviously, and then.
Oh, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right, Bowie. Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I was hanging out with Aaron from AWOL Nation. He's got a dog with 2 different colored eyes. So
sick.
Yeah. That's kind of, I feel like I want a dog one day with 2 different colored eyes. I feel like we could be.
That'd be really cool, man.
Simpatico. But my whole family has blue eyes, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a lot of tattoos?
Not that many.
I know you have that many. Yeah.
I got my Civ gave me a black sheep once.
Oh, that's so cool. That's sick.
I thought it was cool.
I got one from him too, actually.
Really? Yeah. I feel like it had to have been from Civ. It was like
I got one on my leg somewhere. Yeah.
We were in New York.
But not really big on the tats.
I feel like I just got busy and I just like was like I doing the band.
It's kind of cool to have a lot though.
Yeah. I just never went for it. I got them when like we were like there was something I wanted to get, and then I don't know.
Yeah. What about like a book? Did you ever write a book?
About what?
I don't know. Maybe your life. I don't know. A book or I don't know. I can see you writing something. I don't know. Maybe put like a lyric book out. I think you did that before.
Not a lyric book.
Okay.
But
like.
Yeah, I mean,
poetry. I don't know.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, maybe my future.
Like a documentary, Rise Against. Usually, that's somebody else would do that. You don't do that yourself, but
yeah, we did something years ago, but it wouldn't be a documentary because it was so early in our career. But we had a film crew follow us around for a thing called Generation Lost. It was kind of like
that's cool.
Us and our fans and that kind of thing. So
that's cool.
We've had like the camera crews out there and that kind of thing, which has been cool.
Did you? Is it you guys the one who did the Minor Threat songs with Moby singing?
Oh yeah,
was that Rise Against?
Yeah.
Last thing, yeah. What was that for? Where was that?
Like,
was it the thing Walter was doing the show? Or?
No, this was a skate lab up in Simi Valley. It was like oh,
that's right.
Scott Radinsky from Pulling 10-Foot Poles skate park. It was closing down.
Okay.
And it is closed down. And then a friend of ours, a guy named Steve Jennings, who sings for a band called Spark of Life.
Okay.
He's like, I'm gonna have a birthday party at Skate Lab.
Oh, okay.
Before they close it down, my band's gonna play. And then Rise Against was finishing a tour with like Anti-Flag and AFI.
Wow.
I want to say. And he convinced us all, I don't know how he did, to stick around. We finished the tour in LA, and he convinced us all to stay one more day and then play the skate park
that's cool.
in Simi Valley. And then
Moby randomly sang the song. He was there.
And then Moby was there.
Somebody reached out to him or something. Yeah.
Yeah. We reached out to him, and then
wow.
I know Moby, and he's like
same.
He's an old punker.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so he sang Minor Threat, and like, but it was a lot of band guys. Like Jeremy from Touche was there.
Oh, he's the best. I love him, dude.
And then
that was a random thing. I remember seeing it. That was random.
I think Sammy was there.
Probably. Yeah.
Because what did we? I think we may have played a Chain of Strength song.
Wow.
Was Sammy in Chain?
Probably no, but he could play it. That was in every freaking band.
Maybe we played some song that one of his bands.
He's in Side by Side, Youth of Today, Judge.
Maybe it was a Youth of Today song.
Yeah.
I want to say. And then
that's cool. I remember there's a random thing I saw.
We just kind of we were just on the floor of a skate park and we just played a few of our own songs, but then we started doing punk covers that we knew, and it was a good time. Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Just skate park fun kind of thing.
Yeah. You still skate?
No.
You're tired?
I was never that great to begin with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and now I'm like,
you want to get hurt,
so
dude.
Afraid of getting hurt.
I know, bro.
I mean, not that I don't do stupid shit. Like I'm out there on a mountain bike and I've injured myself, and I actually busted my wrist right before a European tour.
Oof.
And couldn't play guitar for the whole tour, which is why we call Neil from Lawrence Arms to play guitar for me.
That's from that accident?
So like I feel like I have a risk budget, you know what I mean?
For
so
sure,
I'm willing to like I'm gonna live my life, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna do fun shit if
Totally.
it's dangerous, and I don't think skating falls in my risk budget because I'm not good enough at it to get risky. So
yeah, I got hurt last December. I haven't skated since because I have shows coming up and I want to run again. It's not worth it to me, man.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not like I can't.
It's crazy. I mean, I haven't had a lot of injuries. Like my ankle has been like bothering me like the last few months.
Never broke anything?
No.
That's cool.
Knock on wood. Like that wrist thing was like a small break, but it was nothing crazy. But it's amazing how much, when you do break something, like it takes, like I
as we get older,
I was like an every other day runner. You know what I mean? And
dude.
And all of a sudden that was out of my routine. And I was like, what am I going to do with myself here? And then I got to find out something else that I do that moves me, or something else to do that moves me around. And so, yeah, it's, that's just part of age, right? You just
walking is good too. Yeah, I do realize that. Like as young as we feel and look and act, we're still the age we are. And it's like.
And your injuries might not recover from like as well. You know what I mean? You may not bounce back as well. So. But
I love my 50s though.
Yeah,
I love getting older.
You're killing it, man.
Thank you, man.
I hope I'm half as good as you at 50.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here. This has been amazing,
dude,
bro.
So I'm glad we finally
so cool
linked up.
Yeah, getting to know you more and hanging with you the last 2 days, and hope to hang with you more. Get the new plunge out here. You gotta try that.
Dude, yeah.
It sucks. I sold my plunge this morning, and I was hyping him on doing it. I don't know if you're excited, you're happy it's gone or not, but we're gonna do the sauna plunge. You ever do that before? No.
No, not with like to this degree. I feel like, I mean, Europe has some of those cold baths, like
amazing.
And I feel like I'll jump in a few, and I get an idea of what it's like. But I think like your shit's real cold.
Yeah, it's 30, 39. But when you get back next time, I'll have a new one here for sure. But
yeah,
awesome, man.
I was a little scared, but I was gonna do it. So.
No, respect. Yeah. And then people just go to the Rise Against website or whatever, your Instagram, and check for dates, all that stuff.
We're out in Europe this summer. We're gonna take LS students across the states.
That's cool.
In the fall. And then we're gonna wrap up this new record and get it out to the world. So
awesome, man. Album number 10, man.
Absolutely.
Damn, I could do a record this year, man. 30 years. I could do at least 3 songs this year or something, bro.
There you go. Well, if you guys do album 10, you gotta have like a Roman numeral X.
Oh yeah, I know, dude.
Yeah.
Well, 3 X's because 30 years.
30 years, 3 X's.
But let's go see Ian at Discord. I'd love to do that with you, man. I'm serious about it. We'll find the same time you're off. It'd be so cool to go out there, hang out with Amanda, go there, hang out, spend the day.
Yeah,
cool. Man, it's very surreal, man.
That's my everything.
Me too, bro.
That's what got me here.
Same, dude. Mm-hmm. All right, so we'll end this on Emakai. We both said it right.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, brother. Bye. Oh, yeah. Mic check.
Check. Hello. How's it sound?
It sounds what it's going to sound. It's fine. It's a phone call.
Okay. Yeah.
Let me see. Show to start talking now. Hi, Tim. How are you? How you been?
I'm good, brother. I'm good.
I know. I saw you just play with my brother the other day somewhere with Offspring. I forgot where you were.
Yeah, holy shit. We were in Quebec City, like Festival d'été. Like, I'm guilty of just kind of showing up to the airport and like going to shows without really knowing where I'm going or like the context of the show. You know what I mean?
I love that, dude. I love that.
Yeah. So that means like you could walk into like a club, or you could walk into like a decent sized room, or sometimes like on Sunday, you walk into a 100,000 person festival that you had no idea was that big.
Are you serious?
Dude, it was like I think they were estimating between 80 and 100,000 people. It's like if your band signs on to play like Lollapalooza, like you kind of know what that means. I know what that means. You know what I mean? You know what to expect.
Yeah.
And I think I just was guilty of not having heard of this festival. And so I really didn't know what a big deal it was, which I think is kind of a blessing in disguise. I feel like you could probably approach all your shows kind of the same way, but it was definitely a shocker when I got there and I was like, wait, where's like the small stage that we're going to play? And they're like, no, this is it. This is the stage. Like, this is where you're playing. It was crazy.
Who was on the bill besides Offspring and you guys?
It was really just us and Offspring. Okay. And then there were some like locals, I think, that were opening. And I'd not heard of them. So I don't remember who they were.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a cool fest. It's like 10 days, 11 days in Quebec City. The government subsidizes it. So you can pay like $120 and you can get a pass for the entire like 10 days of shows.
Oh, that's cool.
And they'll be like, and it's insane. It's like Nickelback one night. It's like Jonas Brothers the next night. It's Zach Bryan another night. Killswitch Engage was there. Silverstein will play it, So it's a little bit of everything, but you can just kind of show up. Or if you don't want to show up, you can just transfer your pass to somebody else. So it's like they're doing something right up there. And your brother killed it. Like those guys had an incredible show. The crowd loved it, so it was a fun, it was kind of like the punk night. It was cool. A good time. Yeah.
Yeah. The last time I saw you, we did the 5K run, the Two Bears.
Yes, that's right. That was amazing.
That was so fun. That was like, I just did one the other day. I've done two since I saw you, but I did.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, I did that one with you. That was awesome. We didn't know what to expect. It was super hot.
Yeah.
Jelly Roll walked it. That was cool. My friend.
Yeah, that's right.
My friend Chappelle did his best. He did really good that day. Yeah, it was really cool. And then I just saw you did some like cycling race. Was that what it was?
Yeah, I rode 100 miles. I would like not call it a race. I wasn't racing, but I was like, every summer I try to do like 100 miles or what's called a century. And I try to like get a century and to see if I can still do it. And I did one, Czech Bikes held one at their headquarters, which is of all places, it's in central Wisconsin and Waterloo, Wisconsin, outside of, like if you have a Trek bike somewhere on it, it will say designed in Waterloo, Wisconsin, which is kind of like a really random town in the middle of Wisconsin. Yeah. So my wife and I went up there and we rode 100 miles, mostly in the rain.
Oh, wow.
It was like at least 60 miles, like in the rain. It was the middle of June, but people were like getting hypothermia because people didn't expect to be wet for hours and hours at a time, and the sun never came out. So
was it cold? Was it cold rain or warm rain? Like it's summer rain, or is it?
It was like summer rain, but it was a strange day where it wasn't really. It was barely hitting 70, so it was like in the 60s, and like that's usually pleasant weather, like unless you're soaking wet. Yeah. And so I saw dudes like pulling garbage bags out of garbages and like cutting sleeves in them, just to kind of like get their warmth going, But it was a fun. Aside from that, I enjoy the challenge. It's fun, and I'm about to go to Slovenia to do like a 6-day cycling trip out there. So I'm trying to like get in shape for it and be ready for those mountains out there because I don't have mountains here in the Midwest, so it's a different thing.
You just gonna go out there just to ride?
Yeah. So I got a tour starting with Rise Against. So we're doing Punk Rock Holiday in Slovenia.
We are too.
So, you guys are?
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Probably different. Hopefully, I know.
Yeah, we go early and we play with the Descendants. I was just looking at it. It's like on a Monday or something. I think they just kind of extended the whole week. But I hope we're on the same day.
Yeah, that's so cool.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, but I'm going to go a week early, take a bike, and I got a route planned out. My wife and I are going to basically ride like 4 hours a day in the mountains, and then just like hopefully just chill at night in some mountain town like hotels, and then go start the tour at the end of the week.
How long is your tour for?
Tour's about a month. It's like pretty much the whole month of August.
Wow.
So it's like Europe, like, August festival season. Are you guys going to be over there for a while?
Just for like 9 shows. We go there July 31st.
Okay. Yeah. That's like right around the same time as us too. So hopefully we cross paths.
How do you do on flying and jet lag and stuff?
I do okay. I'm like, I don't normally take any sort of like sleep medication like normally. But when I am traveling like that, like I get into like say Europe, and to make sure I stay asleep that first week, I might like pop like a Tylenol PM or something like that, or an Advil PM to keep me out at night. And once I can do that for a few nights, then kind of wean myself off of it, and then just be good for the rest of the tour. So I do okay, with obvious exceptions.
Yeah, I feel like I just had a really rough tour in June. I'm kind of getting anxiety about going back, and I took a Unisom from Adam, which I'd never done before, and I slept like 14 hours one night because I was starting to get so exhausted I could feel it in my voice. So I feel like the key is too, like if you fly overnight, which I can't sleep on planes, I'm not sure if you can. But then you have that first day off where you kind of just try to walk around like a zombie all day and stay up late as possible, dude.
It's so true. Yeah, and like you said, as a vocalist, sleep is like, it's a biological necessity, obviously. And then for a vocalist, it's, if you're tired, it's kind of the first place it's going to show up is kind of in your voice. And so as singers, and really anybody, but especially singers, like have to take it so seriously because you can't be up all night and then be expected to go play a show, and knowing you too, you're a social guy, you know what I mean? Like you're out there, you want to hang out with everybody too. And so that just takes a lot on us because we're expected to sing that hour every night, but we're also kind of expected to like entertain everybody, even after, before, when you're just out getting coffee around town, you know what I mean? And so it's sort of like, I always like tell people who don't like play in a band, it'd be like when you watch the bride and the groom at a wedding, and you watch them kind of like go table to table and you realize like that they're just working really hard that day,
It's so true, dude.
And it's their day, you know what I mean? But like they're the ones working so hard to like make that day special for everybody. And that's kind of what every single show is. Like you're working hard to like make sure everyone has a good time. But then that's also about looking out for yourself and making yourself and your mental health a priority. So sometimes I'm good at like kind of disappearing. I'm good at being like, hey man, I love you. I'm gonna go
to the
sleep
hotel.
in my bunk. The hotel. Like I gotta make sure that the rest of the people that bought tickets to these shows get a good show, and that means me trying to be smart and going to bed early or not doing this.
You're just like not talking to. I feel like after the show is when it really gets you. If you're staying up, if you're talking to people all night, you're hanging, that's when your voice is like really just wants to go to sleep and rest. And then sometimes I won't talk a whole day. Like I'll write notes and hand it around to my wife or people. Like I'm not talking today. I'm just gonna save my voice.
Right.
But yeah, do you sleep on airplanes, like overnight flights?
Yeah, I can usually sleep. Like I'm pretty good at sleep.
Okay.
Like I've so knock on wood, I've managed to, be okay with like sleeping on planes and sleep hotels, sleeping on bunks, and if I start to like get some restless nights, that's when I'll do some like a PM type thing or whatever. And usually that straightens me out and gets me back on the schedule. But yeah, I mean, Europe, like sometimes you fall asleep at a decent hour, but then you're wide awake at like 2 in the morning.
Dude.
Your body wants to fight with you and just get you back to like the time zone you live in,
It's so brutal, man. Like everything's off. Like your eating, your bathroom, just everything in general is just, it's crazy, man. So I'm really trying to get ahead of it now and try to have all the right stuff. And I got my magnesium. I got my glycerin. I got all this crazy stuff people tell me to get. It's crazy.
Right. Yeah. And it's going to be different for everybody. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be a different experience, and I'm sure it'll be a different experience for me next year than it was for me last year. Like it just like it doesn't. That kind of travel like just doesn't get easier, right?
It doesn't, man. And if you don't get it, like in the first couple of days, it just you're off the whole run, man. It's hard, man. So I'm really just trying to not psych myself out about it and just really try to. You know what else is this new thing people are doing? It's called raw dogging on planes. It's like where you don't have. You heard about that?
I saw that. Yeah, that's hilarious.
So you have nothing. Maybe you can have a book, but you can't have no phones or TV or even headphones. Maybe, but I don't know. I was thinking about trying that, just reading a book, and I don't know, man.
Yeah.
It's pretty gnarly.
That's pretty gnarly. I don't know if I could do all that. I'm usually I'm not like a binge watching TV guy, like, but when I get on a plane, that's what I kind of do to like turn my brain off, you know? And I think since I've seen you have like flown back and forth from London, I just got back from like 10 days in Quebec that I came home in the middle of. And so lots of flying, but I just try to like, I'm honestly, I'm the guy who like, I kind of find airports and travel strangely meditative.
Really?
Like, yeah, like I don't mind airports. I don't mind travel. I think it's a little bit of like the powerlessness you have.
It's
like
so powerless, dude. Once you go through security, dude, oh my God.
Right, totally. And so like you could either fight that and just be like, oh my God, this is stressing me out, or you can kind of just step onto the treadmill. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Put your AirPods in, noise cancel. You know what I mean? Like shut everything down and just be like, I'm just going to float to this plane, and I'm going to float to this seat, and I'm going to float to the cab, and I'm going to float to the hotel. I'm just going to like shut the world off around me. I can't do much about flight delays. I can't do much about who I'm sitting next to. I can't do much about internet stuff. I can't control that thing, but I can control like how I experience it and kind of how I react and respond to it. And so that's me. Like I get out of the car and like I just throw the noise cancel in. And I'm just like, I can't be bothered, you know?
It's kind of cool. And then there's long lines going through customs and all that stuff. Just
right.
No, man.
Yeah. It's travel's tough, but you gotta have like a good book, a good podcast. You know, you gotta listen to Toby Morse. You gotta listen to his podcast. You know, when you got him in your ear in customs, like who cares how long that line is? You know?
Yeah, all that stuff you really can't control too. It's like whatever happens. It's out of your control. Like you just gotta, like you said, go with it. Like whatever happens at security, at the lines, who you sit next to.
Totally. Yeah,
it's
you
a
can't
really
stress
good point,
over.
Man.
Because you watch people just get so stressed out in those situations, and it's like, man, like, hey, we're gonna get here, and if we're not gonna get there, we'll figure it out. You know what I mean? Like, but like, it's not gonna do anybody any good. Like, trying to like hassle everybody and like get aggro. It's just makes it hard on everybody, you know?
Yeah, I love that. I'm just really gonna try to embrace it all and just like not trip and sleep the best I can. And you know, we just got nine shows in a row, no days off. Is kind of gnarly, but it'll be all right.
Yeah, well, you know, that kind of thing, like step into each one real easy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like take your foot off the gas a little bit, you know, don't go super hard on those first shows. That's what I do. That's where I get myself in trouble. I go real hard on those first shows, and then I'm like, oh man, like you got to catch up now, you know?
Yeah. Summer clubs and summer festivals. What do you prefer, clubs or festivals?
So I like a variety.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think either one gets old after a while, you know?
Good point.
So my ideal tour would be like the festivals with like a few club shows like thrown in between, because then they're always exciting. Festivals are so much fun because they're just like a big class reunion, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's cool. Like if we run into you guys or like run into all these bands like, you know, that you've heard of over the years, and not just bands, but the people at catering, you know what I mean? Like the crews, like everybody. That's kind of like, you know, that's kind of like, that's where your world is. Like,
yeah.
Our family and our community is kind of global. That's like what made COVID so hard, because you rely on travel to kind of connect with a lot of people that you connect with, you know?
100%.
We're sort of, that's what we are. We're kind of travelers. So we don't do like, you know, we might not be as close with our neighbors, but we're close with all these people around the world, you know? And so
that's a great point.
That's why I love festivals, because it's just sort of this cool meetup. And now that like we've been doing it for so long, it's a lot of familiar faces out there, we just got back from playing shows with like your brother and Offspring, or we were with Pennywise in a town called Bromont, like at a hotel, just like chilling out with those guys.
That's
like,
cool.
Which was rad. And just like running into just like your old buds, like that's what make festivals like kind of fun.
Like all over the world too, and sometimes like like you said, random small towns, random festivals. Like yeah.
Totally. It's how I see new music too, because I don't really get out to as many shows as I want to. And so when I see like all these new cool hardcore bands are playing like the side stage at a festival playing, I'm like, dude, I want to get over there. I want to go see these bands, and I get to like see like what's happening, what people are getting into, and then I find out about new bands that way.
Yeah, I love that. And speaking of new hardcore bands, well, not new, they've been around for a while, but me, you, and my friend Greg and Derek, we went and saw Knocked Loose out here at the Shrine with like 6,000 people. So we went and saw Speed. They performed as well. That was one of the biggest probably hardcore shows I've ever seen in a long time. Like that's huge, man.
Dude, what a fun night. That was like, that was an eye opener for me, just to see like this might be the biggest hardcore show I've ever been to. You know, and to see hardcore enjoying this moment right now, I find it so exciting. I find people are like seeing what hardcore is about, and these bands are kind of they're doing a great job. You know, they're representing it really cool, and so I think it's definitely I'm not saying anything anybody doesn't know, but it's a great era of hardcore right now.
Yeah, man, it's a beautiful time for it. It's thriving everywhere, and there's so many bands, so many things happening, different podcasts and different people putting on shows still. Just like it seems like it's bigger than ever, you know, especially coming from the pandemic and stuff. It's wild, man.
It's like it's unkillable. That's what you see. You know what I mean? Like it's just like you can't kill this thing. It's gonna find its way, you know. And I feel like I'm sure every generation thought that maybe it was going away or it was dying, or I'm sure the 70s they thought punk was dying, in the 80s, you know, whatever. And then you just see it like hardcore. We're just like cockroaches, man. We're going to be around forever. Like it's going to find its way to the surface in every generation. And it's finding its way in such a cool way right now.
Yeah, it's really, really awesome. I just heard your cover of with AWOL Nation of Beds of Burning.
Oh yeah,
it's so good, dude. I think that's one of my favorite covers album that I've stumbled upon in years. Like, there's some great cover albums, but I don't know. I just love the album, and that track you did is so good. You sound really great on there, man. It's like such a great cover, man.
Dude, thanks, man. I appreciate it. That's like, I mean, that's all Aaron Bruno. He's like the genius behind AWOL.
Yeah,
he's actually an old hardcore kid. I don't know if you've talked to him.
He was on my podcast yesterday.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah.
He's great, dude.
Yeah. He's cool, man. It's like, and it's kind of like that hardcore thing that kind of connects us all. Like once we spent time in the trenches, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You kind of share that bond. I don't know if AWOL listeners would know about Aaron's like hardcore roots, but
yeah, they will now for sure.
They will now. Yeah, he put that record together, and they asked me to be on that song, which I was thinking like there's not. I thought it was. I love that song. I love that band. I love like. Midnight Oil was a mixture of like popular music with politics,
totally,
which is like not so different than what Rise Against does. And so I thought it was a great blueprint to like look at. And it's a song that I think people have attempted to cover, but I haven't heard like a proper cover of it, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like Aaron's, I mean, that might be the quintessential cover, like right there, because it's a very strange song. If anybody listening like goes and listens to it right now, listen to the way he sings the verses. Like he's like singing in this very creepy, like Vincent Price kind of like voice.
Wow.
It's like, it's very strange. So it makes it very, what's the word? Like inimitable, you know what I mean? Like it's hard to imitate, you know?
Yeah.
And I think Aaron did a great job, and I was stoked that he asked me to be a part of it.
Yeah. Were you on the Greatest Hates too? Liquid Death?
Oh yeah, I was. Yes, you're right. We did, it was like number 2 from Anti-Flag Hit Me Up. And he was writing songs, and I was on the one. Yeah, that was the one where they took the comments from the internet.
So good, so genius, dude.
Yes, I forget which one. I remember singing the words. I remember singing the words. What about being a good influence on teenagers? Have you ever heard of that?
Oh my god!
And I remember singing like those lines, and it was like, you know, a 45-second like punk like blast song. So, but it was
for the listeners. It's like Liquid Death takes all like the negative comments that makes them into songs and puts these records out called The Greatest Hates. It's so genius, dude.
Yeah, it was kind of trolling trolls basically.
Yeah.
And then they wrote entire songs about it. Totally, yeah. And they made a parody out of like what trolling really is, which I thought was like, it kind of put it in its place a little bit when you really take the comments, you know, and be like, this is what you spent time typing on the internet. Like, check it out. We just put a bass line to it.
Yeah, now we're gonna sing it back to you.
Yeah, exactly.
So the U.S. tour kicks off November 20th or something in Anaheim, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's on that tour with you guys?
So we got I think we got Spiritual Cramp on that tour with us, and we got LS Dunes.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like our generation's like super group, right?
Yeah, that's gonna be really cool, man.
Yeah, those are great dudes. It's gonna be fun to be on the road with some bros, and then like we haven't been on the road in like over a year or so. Like we haven't really toured hard for like a year or so. We just worked on a new record, and we're about to go back out. And so we're going to try to go play like some smaller places. I feel like it's more fun to kind of kick things off in some small rooms.
Yeah,
and kind
of course.
of just, like kind of like what I was saying, like ease into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's a great way to play shows. It's a good morale booster for like my camp, because you just kind of get to play these little places you haven't been to in a long time. And the shows are just always so much fun. I feel like our band kind of thrives in like those kind of environments too.
Yeah.
So people will find us at some more intimate venues this fall, which is I think pretty exciting for me.
Yeah, that's cool. That's gonna be a good tour. How long is that tour for?
It's like a month, I think.
Wow, is that pretty long for you guys these days? A month?
Yeah, a month is kind of like where we cap it for the most part.
Okay.
I feel like we're like, I'd love to go out for like 3 weeks at a time, and I feel like it always gets spaced out.
Yeah.
A little like something happens and shows get added onto or whatever, tours get added onto. But like that's a pretty typical like North American tour for us is about I would say like about a month. Yeah, especially with like once you combine like we usually try to rehearse before the tour and be ready for those first shows. And so once you add all that time to it too, it's easily a month. But nothing longer. Like we used to do those
6 to 8 weeks, dude.
Yeah, I'm sure you did too.
Crazy,
like,
bro.
It was like we were all in like this arms race to see how long we could all tour, and having a day off was seen as like weakness and like going
so
out
true,
for only. We were all like just trying to like chest bump and be like, well, we went out for 8 weeks, well, we went out for 10 weeks, and then I watched entire bands break up because their tour was about like a week too long.
Brutal,
like,
dude.
It's just because
make or break you, man.
I remember when I was a kid. My mom wanted me home at midnight, and I would argue with her, and she would always say to me, "Timothy, nothing good happens after midnight."
Damn.
And that was always her line to me. And I think about that as a guy who tours now. I always think nothing good happens after about 3 weeks.
Yeah. Or after 10 o'clock.
Exactly. Yeah.
Have you ran since we did that 5K?
Yeah, actually,
okay, cool.
I have a little bit, especially. I love running like when I travel because it's like you're in a new spot. You want to not only is it good exercise, but like you're in this like
check out the places.
Yeah, like I want to see things. So I think I told you like I sprained my ankle like last year sometime, but I didn't even know I sprained it. I was experiencing pure denial and just kind of was walking on it for a long time.
Yeah.
But I've been getting back into running as of late. More cycling at the moment because I'm preparing for like Slovenia. But
so cool.
But yeah. I have gotten back into running, which has been fun.
That's so cool. You're cycling, you and your wife. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, I love it. It's like a fun thing. I feel like that like people of any age can do. And
who was into it first?
Between my wife and I,
yeah,
like we're both really kind of both doing it from the time we were young.
Oh, that's cool. That's like, awesome.
I feel like when we were younger, it was more like mountain biking. Like we weren't. It wasn't like road riding.
Yeah.
Like that's more popular nowadays. And so we were just kind of like got into mountain biking as young people, and then we did that as often as we could. And then now we just ride a lot of road riding too. And Chicago's got a beautiful shoreline.
Yeah, it does.
As well. And then if I get to a city, like I just did 30 miles in Quebec City.
Oh wow.
At that hotel we stayed at with Pennywise last week, it was on a ski mountain, and those kind of mountains will do downhill mountain biking in the summertime, where like you take your bike up a ski lift, and you pretty much dress up like a stormtrooper, and then you just like bomb these hills, and it's crazy and it's a little dangerous, but like it's so much fun too.
Yeah, do you trip out doing stuff like that while you're on tour?
Like I try to like I'm 45, and so. The downhill mountain biking, which I don't do very often because I'm just not around it. Like for me to do that, I got to get on a plane to go do that somewhere. But that kind of stuff, it's kind of like skiing or snowboarding where like you don't need to do the black diamond. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like you get to the top of that mountain, you got a choice. You can do the greens and you can do the blues, and mountain biking is the same way. So I'm trying to be smart. I feel like I don't need to jeopardize a tour. I've already done that once. I crashed on a mountain bike. And broke a bone in my thumb and was unable to play guitar right before a European tour.
That's right.
So
Dang.
So we hired my friend Neil Hennessy from the Lawrence Arms, who played guitar for me for an entire European tour. So that was like we were a 5-piece for the only time in our band's history.
Yes.
And then, oddly enough, Neil just played bass for us on the Blink-182 tour in Australia because Joe went home because he had a death in the family.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So so Neil saved the day. It's funny. I joke that he knows our songs better than we do because now he knows how. Because I don't know how to play Rise Against songs on bass. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I know how to sing them. And he knows how to play my bass. He knows how to play on my guitar. And don't forget, he's actually a really good drummer. And so he could probably do drums too. So we joke that he knows the songs better than we do.
That's incredible. It's good to have a friend like that. I can back you guys up when you need it too. It's awesome.
Dude,
yeah.
He's the best. He's like a high school bud too. We started our first bands together when we were 15. So we go way back.
So cool. So how long are you home for now?
I'm home for 10 more days. I go back to Quebec for one more show, and then I go to Slovenia to start the European tour. And then in the meantime, I'm just chilling. I'm actually meeting up with this filmmaker buddy of mine today. His name is Davey Rothbart, and he filmed a Rise Against DVD 10 years ago or longer than that. When he came on the Warped Tour with us and filmed us and stuff, and we put out a DVD of some live shows, and then us just hanging out. He's an old roommate of mine, but turned into a filmmaker and journalist. He does a thing called Found Magazine, which is you would love it. Where it was just stuff people found on the street or whatever, notes or grocery lists or old pictures.
Oh wow!
And he got so much of it that he eventually turned into a magazine that you'd put out, and then it would be sometimes it'd be an excerpt from a diary, you know what I mean, just anonymous. And sometimes it would be
so cool, man.
Wow. Totally. It was really fascinating, sort of insights, the human condition, maybe a note somebody left on your car because you parked wrong or something,
I wonder if those people ever saw the magazine or found it or heard about it or it's so interesting.
I'll tell you this story. We were Dave and I were roommates. Found Magazine came out, and he had a website as well. And one of the things he put out was a note from a temp, or from a secretary to a temp secretary. You know what I mean? Yeah. So the temp secretary is coming in, and the secretary is trying to tell this secretary, oh, here's what the boss likes.
Okay.
And so it was a really describing this guy who was just a total, was a high maintenance guy.
Okay.
Make sure that his ice is crushed and not cubed.
Whoa.
If this person calls, don't let that call through. Make sure the temperature in the room is this, whatever. All these different things. Do these 10 things and you'll be fine. He put it on his website or whatever. And then Davey left the country for some reason. And this is back in the days of landlines. My phone rings, and they're looking for Davey. And I won't say who it was, but because I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but it was a very prominent music magazine calling my house.
Okay.
Wow. Maybe the most prominent of music magazines was calling I know. Yes, they were calling my apartments, right? And Rise Against was just starting too. So for a second, I was like, "Oh, they're calling for me," and they weren't calling for me. They weren't calling for me. They were calling for Davey. And I go, "Oh, listen, he's out of the country. What can I do for you?" And they're like, "Listen, there's something on your website. It's a note from a secretary, and it came from our office."
Damn, dude.
Our office has seen it, and it's hurt a lot of feelings. It's embarrassed a lot of people. We need to get him to take it down from the website.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did he take it down?
So back then, he went to Brazil or something. He was backpacking around. You know what I mean? This was before cell phones. I was I will, if he calls, I'll talk to him, but I don't have access to his website, and blah, blah.
Dude.
And they were nice about it. They were like, listen, we know he didn't know who it was. He didn't say who it was, but we know who it is. And, if he takes it down, we're happy to do a feature in the magazine about him and stuff like that. But we just need to get it off the website,
That's so crazy.
Yeah. It was so nuts. So so I think people do eventually sometimes figure out, that their notes have been in this magazine. And in fact, that's what I'm going to talk to him this afternoon about. Before Rise Against, I did a band called The Killing Tree.
Yep.
And it was a hardcore band. We just loved Converge and Cave In and Turmoil, and just wanted to make a band that kind of sounded like that. And that's what we did. And around that time, Davey found a garbage bag full of cassette tapes in the back of a porn shop. And you'll have to talk to him about the whole story.
Wow.
Anyway, he's going through it because he's like this found connoisseur guy. And a lot of them is an audio diary of a young girl who knows what her age really was, but it was like tapes from like the early 90s of like basically a teenage girl narrating like an audio diary.
Holy
like what's going
shit.
on, like what's going on in her life, you know what I mean? And her life was tumultuous. It sounded like she like had a lot of relationship troubles, like had family troubles. Sounded like she was like homeless at times.
It's heavy.
But she clearly had a tape recorder, and she was just talking into it and just kind of like, here's what's going on in my life. And it was like, you know, the cassettes, and they're dirty, and it's all broken, and the voice is creepy, and like it's like what she's saying is so sad. And we spliced up some of that audio into our album.
Oh wow,
of her talking. And so like, and the Killing Tree is kind of like, it's a niche band for like niche fans, and I don't even know, I think it's on YouTube, but it never even got released digitally. But there was a fan base that loved that record.
Mm-hmm.
And Davey just told me last week that this year he found that girl.
No way, dude.
A woman. Well, he found like a Killing Tree fan who helped him kind of Sherlock Holmes their way into finding this person. And he's coming over later to show me what he found. He's gonna he wants to like film my reaction and everything. So he's doing like a whole thing.
My God, dude.
Yeah, that's kind of who he is. He's like a human interest story guy. Like
that's really cool, man.
He'll do like This American Life, you know, like that kind of stuff. Like
I want you to meet her. It'd be so cool if you can meet her. I wonder how she's doing, like how her life has changed. That's so incredible, man.
Dude, I have so many questions, and I hope she's not ticked off that we put her voice in this thing. You know, but it's a lot that I'm interested to hear this afternoon.
I'm glad she's alive. Sure. I'm glad she's around. You know, I mean, I wonder how he found. It's crazy, dude.
Dude, I know. I got so many questions, and he's coming over in like a couple hours. So
I hope you guys can meet up with her and stuff. Maybe do something with her. I don't know. It'd be cool, man.
I would love to, because this record was like 20 years old, and it's kind of, you know, it's her voice has become this sort of like this irreversibly intertwined with like this music that we wrote, you know, and so it feels like it's such a big part of like the record. And I know for fans, like it's a big part of the music as well. So it's all interesting.
That's incredible, man.
Yeah, you should interview him. He's a really interesting guy. He's really creative.
Wow, he sounds like that's like so original too. He's just finding things and putting them in the magazine.
Yeah, and that's just one facet of what he does, because he's also like does documentaries and like films and he writes. He's just like, he's a multi-talented and just a good dude. And we just happened to be roommates in Chicago, like in like the late 90s.
Wow, man. He's like almost like a psychiatrist. I don't know. It's interesting, man.
It's so interesting.
Wow. That's so cool. Yeah, I'm stoked to see what comes of that, man. That'd be really awesome. Maybe see you talking to that girl or the woman, have an interview or something. I don't know. It'd be cool. What comes? Something's gonna come from this for sure.
Totally, yeah. He's filming something. He's always got something up his sleeve. So
I hope she's in a good place. I really do, man.
That he did say she was in a good place.
That's
and
cool.
That's the one thing that he did tell me, is that she reacted positively to the whole thing. I think she's kind of a creative person now, so I think she kind of appreciated like the creative sort of aspect of
what a small
how the audio was used.
Crazy world, dude.
Dude, I mean, but how the hell did they find her? Like,
I know. Yeah, with the internet now, all that's anything's possible. Dude.
I know. It's crazy,
scary, right? But it's actually cool too.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. How's your summer going?
My summer's going good, man. I got just been podcasting. Played a show since I saw you at the Palladium with Terror and Drain and
I
Angel
saw
Dust.
Terror. I saw that tour in Chicago. Actually, I went to that one.
Oh wow! Was it the Metro?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Yep.
Yeah,
dude, what a cool show.
Dude, what a crazy bill. So we got to play that in LA. That was really awesome. I think we're like the oldest band on the bill. We had such a great show. I did not know what to expect. That was really cool. And then we got the Europe coming up, and then we got a Canada show with Dropkick Murphys and Bouncing Souls, a cancer benefit show in Montreal.
Nice.
Then we're going to Brazil and Chile. Got a New York show in the fall for anniversary. But yeah, we're staying busy. We have something happening every month. Rest of the year, it's cool.
Yeah,
it's fun.
Those are some killer destinations. I love it.
Yeah, I'm stoked, and just playing with Max and traveling and stuff. It's really been fun, and
Yeah, what a dream.
I know, man. So yeah, it's good, man. Life's good. I love being home too. I love like the balance of all of it, but yeah, it's fun to go play shows. I'm excited. Once I get there and get through all the security and the flying, I'll be cute. But thank you for the tips too, man. That's really cool. Just kind of like put your AirPods on, noise cancellation, just like roll with the flow, man. Just get to your flight, get to the destination. No stress. Yeah. Don't stress about things you have no control over. Just
totally
follow the rules and follow the directions to get to your flight. That's it.
Dude, it's so true.
Because you lose the power once you get to the airport. Right. I feel like you're powerless in certain ways. Like
totally, yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. And like you can't tune out completely because you got to see if your flight's canceled or if you got to do whatever. I get it, but like sometimes just like when people are stressed, like they're saying stupid shit, and then like you're sitting there just listening to it, and you're like, well, I don't want to be listening to this. I can just put these AirPods in and listen to H2O. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna disappear here. I'm like, I'm doing my thing. I know. I think I don't know if to say that I have a meditative relationship with like travel is like, I'm sure not people can't relate, but I think it's possible. I honestly like,
I want to try it.
I get calm. I get to the airport and I get calm. At the last thing I just get calm, and it's like, all right, here I go. And I feel like I'm like just floating, like when you see those scenes in like movies where the guy's just like floating, not even taking steps.
Dude, I love this. This is one of my favorite tips I've gotten in the past couple weeks about all my traveling stress. Like I was gonna put my AirPods on and just like roll, man, and just like
dude, just
until somebody has to tap me and go, "Excuse me, sir," and like I'm okay, and kind of wake me up out of my little like zombie mission
totally,
airport.
yeah, exactly.
That's amazing. Well, good talking to you, man. I'm psyched. Since if people listening now, this episode's out now. Really great connecting you in Los Angeles, going to the show, doing the run with you, hanging with you, hiking with you, eating with you. It was so fun to like get to know you more and become friends. And I'm stoked to see you guys in the fall out here. Hopefully I'll see you in Slovenia. Good luck on your cycling trip with your wife. That's so cool.
I'm stoked.
Yeah, man. All the best for you, my friend. And hopefully I'll see you on the road, or if not, I'll see you in Los Angeles,
Yeah, let's hang. I can't wait.
All right, brother. Have a great day, man.
All right.
Thank you for your time. Okay, bro.
Yeah, man. Of course.
Talk soon. Bye.
All right, later.
Bye. I always ask my guests if they have any regrets. I personally don't have any regrets. Even when it comes to my tattoos, I have the silliest tattoos. Even my ET on my leg, it's still a childhood memory for me, and I love it. I've had tattoos on top of tattoos strictly because I wanted more tattoos. I started getting tattoos when I was 18. I'm 52 now, and I can't stop. I've had laser treatment before on something on my arm. It's 4 tattoos on top of each other. And that experience at that place was pretty fast. It was pretty cold. It was in and out, swipe the credit card. Don't really tell me much. Didn't give me much details or anything was going to happen. So I never went back. So as of most recently, I'm so lucky enough to have had 2 sessions at Removery Tattoo Removal. My tattoo on my arm looks like a big black blob. Is now super light. I've had 2 sessions. I have a long road ahead of me. None of this stuff happens overnight. You cannot take a tattoo up in one sitting. You have to be patient. And it's painful. They ice you up. It's super fast. To me, it felt like a bunch of rubber bands. But what's more painful than that is looking at something on your body that you think you're stuck with for the rest of your life. That sucks. But now for me, I'm really happy I started this journey. I'm slowly going to get this tattoo removed. I never thought in a million years I have any kind of real estate on my arm. I don't even know what I want, but it's exciting. I'm so honored to announce that One Life, One Chance podcast is now with Removery. Call 866-934-4570 or go to removery.com. Use TobyH2O and get $100 off your first session. One of the most experienced tattoo removal companies in the world. Over 600,000 removal treatments done. 100 locations. US, Canada, and Australia. State-of-the-art peak-away laser technology. Cryotechnology to reduce any discomfort. This is so exciting to me because all I do in these podcasts is talk about tattoos. From day one, if you've been listening to this podcast, talk about tattoos, talk about getting removed, talk about getting covered up. So this is such a perfect fit for me. Definitely check out One Life, One Chance podcast, episode 281. I have Carmen Brody, Mike McTurnan, and Dustin Ortle from Removery. And this is over a 2-hour conversation. People submitted questions. It's an incredible conversation breaking down the do's, the don'ts, the fears, process, the results, everything you could imagine about getting a tattoo removed. It's all in this podcast. It's an incredible episode. I appreciate them all coming out for it. So check that out if you want to learn more about Removery. and what it's like to get a tattoo removed. Once again, go to Removery.com or call 866-934-4570. Use my code TobyH20 and get $100 off. These guys are located everywhere. Try it out.